let's establish some things right at the start, right? I'll get the video that started it already. Okay. Here it is. Nice. Classic unskippable ads. For the good companies, right? Like Fox. Right. So anyway, just before we get into this, a few things I want to say right off the bat, right? I'll repeat my point for the purposes of the video when Griff edits all of this together. I will repeat my point where I will say my feelings of Steven Crowder are pretty much, I think, what anyone with a common sense outlook would feel. And that is that Steven Crowder is somebody who wants the protections and freedoms afforded to journalists when he's acting as a journalist. As a journalistic source of information, he's absolutely terrible. There are so many things, so many videos where he gets stuff just flagrantly wrong. Now, the only things that I really see as having merits for Steven Crowder are basically when he breaks down news and tries to put a funny spin on it. That's fine. I don't think he's a particularly funny comedian, but he is a comedian. And I think the Change My Mind series, where he at least tries to engage with people. But in general, Steven Crowder's a fucking hack. He's just boorish. He's not that funny. He's not that witty. He's a terrible source of information. And I just don't consume his content. I just don't consume his content. That being said, I find what Vox have done to be petty, petulant, pathetic, and we need to address the elephant in the room, which
You're not even real journalism.
This journalist.
Right. You are the man. Happy you are streaming more.
No worries. Thank you, X-Freaker X. This Carlos Maza is a fucking grown man. He's a grown man. He's, making out that he's like some child being bullied or something. Not only is he a grown man, he's a very powerful person because he is the face of a hugely influential media organization, one that has business ties with YouTube. He's holding all of the cards in this exchange. And I think it's pathetic to try and represent that he's a victim because some guy said some things about him on the internet. Now, I'll also get into those things.
You're not even a
this
real
is
journalism.
probably where we start
That's
to
right.
get into Richard becoming unpopular.
Bear smile.
No worries. Thank you. It's good. A part-time bear. I didn't even know. Are there full-time bears? I think being a bear is a full-time kind of gig, but whatever. But look, I think the comments that Steven Crowder made, they're probably homophobic, guys. Sorry, said it.
You're not even a real journalism.
Said it.
That's right.
I think when you call somebody a lesbian queer within the context within which it was used, it's probably not good, is it? And you can say what you want. I don't think the word queer is in and of itself always a slur. I think it's actually one of those words that has been successfully reclaimed by the community that it was used to denigrate. So much so that it is now in the blanket term. I stop at the Q. I'm never getting on board. Like LGBTQ. That's enough now, right? We don't keep adding letters to it. Let's not make it LGBTQC, whatever.
You're not even a real journalism.
I am stopping
That's
at the
right.
Q. But I'm all right with the LGBTQ, right? But it's in there. And yes, and I get that Carlos Matza calls himself a queer and uses the term queer to describe himself, as do a lot of gay people. So it's one of those borderline cases. And what do you do in borderline cases? You look at context. And is Steven Crowder calling this guy a lesbian queer, a throwaway use of the word that denotes a genuine love and fondness and respect for the person he's talking about. Now, I won't call it hate speech, because first of all, it's actually irrelevant if it's hate speech or not, because in America, hate speech is protected speech, and the Supreme Court have upheld multiple times that there's no such thing as hate speech in terms of speech that should be banned. There is inciting violence, for which there is
You're
a
not even a
specific
real
law.
journalism.
But, you know,
That's right.
calling somebody a lesbian queer would not qualify as hate speech, and even if it did, there's freedom of speech arguments to protect your right to call somebody that. But within the, which we'll get into, I'll show you the terms of service on YouTube. But within the terms of service of YouTube, it was definitely a terms of service violation. You have to understand that, like, the broader issue about free speech doesn't really apply here. We're not talking about government censorship. We're not talking about anyone taking away Steven Crowder's right to speak. Here's what happened. He got demonetized. He got de-fucking monetized. That is not censorship. He's still allowed on the platform. Now, if you've been completely banned or removed from the platform, maybe I sit here and go, well, is him using the term lesbian queer to describe somebody he clearly doesn't like, is that enough to warrant banning him? And I'd probably say no. Right? But it's definitely a term of service violation, and him having his YouTube procured advertising that gets placed on his video taken away so he doesn't earn his advertising revenue share, that is not censorship. All the people saying it is are wrong. All the people being outraged about it are idiots. YouTube act as an intermediary to put advertisements on your videos. When I got demonetized, I said, look, YouTube would demonetize me. I went out and got a sponsorship to make making YouTube content worthwhile. That's what I did, right? And Steven Crowder has that. He's still got 4 million subscribers or whatever it is. He still gets to make money through mug clubs, subscriptions, selling merchandise, and his content is all an advertisement for that, and it exists on YouTube. He has not been censored. So, just saying. So, there's the discussion, and what I'm going to look at and what I'm going to talk about is, should media companies be pressurizing other media companies, effectively rival media companies, to make business for their rivals harder? That's the discussion. Is it fair that Vox can do what they did, create an outrage that they did, back channel, apply pressure to YouTube to get somebody else put in a position where they make less money, become disenfranchised to make content because they're a rival to their type of content? That's the real discussion. No one's been censored. What YouTube did isn't wrong on the surface, and Crowder's a fucking idiot. Because here's all you have to do. You can mock this guy. You can do impersonations of this guy. You can create a character called, I don't know, like Larkos Zama, and dress up as him and, impersonate him, and it's all fine. But then what you did is, you couldn't leave it there. You had to keep trying to appeal to your edgy little base, and you had to drop in the lesbian queer, which is a TOS violation. The end. This is what I mean. These guys never stay within the lines. And the lines are very clearly drawn. And yes, the rules are not equally applied. But there are lines, and all you have to do is stay within them, and you get to have your cake and eat it. But they never can. They've always got to push a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. And I went through it firsthand when I saw it all with Milo. I said, brother, you got to make a choice about who you are, what you want to be, and what you want to say, or you will get got. And he got, right? And now is completely unpersoned on the internet, and and in his absence is smeared as a pedophile, which is a lie. So these people always push, and they always think they're going to get away with it. And in the short term, it actually works for them. Crowder's subscribers are up, his revenue's up, subscribers to mug clubs up. But the more and more you keep trying to test it and test it and test it, eventually you're just going to get deplatformed. And when you get deplatformed from one, everyone else falls in line and deplatforms you, and you become like an Alex Jones, a Milo Yiannopoulos, you know, a Gavin McInnes. You become like one of those guys. And again, I don't agree in unpersoning people from the internet. But when you use a service that has basically set itself up as a monopoly, you might want to think about just not walking the line, just staying on the right side of it. That's all you have to do, and you get to have your cake and eat it. And these people are too stupid, too jacked up on their own hubris to do that. So it's very hard to respect people that do that. And yet, you know, I'm against cancel culture, but it's not even about cancel culture. This is just very plain and simple. Plain and simple. Don't call a gay man in the middle of Pride Month a lispy queer on your 4 million strong YouTube channel. That's all you have to do. And none of this happens. You know, it's interesting, isn't it? That everybody gets on Carlos Martz's fucking dick about it. And they fucking should. Right? Because it's pathetic that he like cried like, oh, help, help, I'm being oppressed. Like, yeah, you're one of the most powerful men in fucking left-wing media, but okay, you're being oppressed. I get it, right? But nobody's got pissed off at Crowder.
You're not even a real journalist.
Nobody said, oh, all these other people, these journalists that got banned, that's Crowder should have just not said it. But no, he's an idiot. He's a fucking idiot. They're all idiots. Anyway, this is the video that started it. And I just want to do my own little debunking here. Because I think it's hilarious that Vox talk about bias. And they do it by going after their favorite target, Fox News. And again, hopefully my views on Fox News are clear to you all. I'm a media student. I'm a journalist. I know Fox News is a joke. But when you yourself are imbued with the bias just in the opposite direction, you don't really get to call people out. But anyway, this is the video that started it all. Try not to, you know, send your sides into orbit when you laugh at Carlos's incredible physical comedy, but I'm preparing you in advance. This video is so funny, it should be outlawed.
I'm done. I'm finally done watching Fox News. It's rotting my brain, and only boomers watch that crap anyway. From now on, I'm watching real news, stuff that actually matters. And I'll never have to worry about Fox News ever again.
Two of the headlines on Fox News tonight.
Gotten a lot of attention thanks to Fox News.
Started on Fox News. Yesterday on Fox News.
Last night on O'Reilly.
Last night on Hannity.
This morning on Fox and Friends.
Fox was all over the story.
I want to play this clip from Fox.
Clip from Fox News earlier.
It makes my head explode when I see these clips from Fox News.
Oh God. It's everywhere. There's no escape.
Thank God for Fox News.
Thank God for Fox News.
Thank God for Fox.
You get the truth out.
Thank God for Fox News, or otherwise, no one would be talking about these issues.
In an ideal.
Right. So, yeah, you saw the joke there, guys. Pretty good, wasn't it? You see, oh no, it's so bad it's making my eyes bleed. Very, very funny. But what the premise of this video is that not only is Fox News bad and unbelievably biased source of news, which is true, because other people in the mainstream media that have their own biases and, how should we say, peccadillos and focuses, talk about Fox, that legitimizes Fox and is by extension bad. Now, understand the reality, whether you want to accept it or not. You know, look, even BuzzFeed does some good work. You know, even the Huffington Post has done some good work that has worth and merit. I'm sure Vox has. In fact, for all I'll demonstrate the biases of Vox, it started out with a fairly noble goal, which was to break down news bullshit and to try and explain it to people. It's just what happened was, somewhere along the line, that became, we'll just only explain it from a progressive viewpoint, not from a balanced viewpoint. But the whole point of having an open and free press is that everyone, you know, look, if everybody knows what the biases are, in an ideal world, you would get rid of bias, but that isn't the landscape we live in. But as long as everybody knows what the bias is and where they're coming from, and everybody's free to report the stories they deem important, and I know which publications are biased and which ways going in, I, as an informed reader, viewer, whatever, can disseminate the information I need to make an informed decision about whether to believe a story or not. So, for example, I know that the vast majority of Breitbart's political reporting is extreme right-wing garbage. And ever since Steve Bannon basically aligned himself with Trump, it moved away from being a traditional conservative website to a populist pro-Trump website. And is the worse for it, and that is completely contradictory to what Andrew Breitbart wanted the website to be. And if they had any class, they would change their name. They would change their name because Andrew Breitbart didn't want to align himself with a candidate. He wanted to align himself with traditional conservative values. Now, that being said, Alan Bakari over at Breitbart, he's one of the only guys getting these leaks of like internal Google documents, internal Google roundtables that are being filmed. People who select what news you can read on Facebook are reaching out to him. And because it's on Breitbart, people are dismissing it and pushing it away. It's actually good reporting. And I believe it's accurate because I know him. Now, as soon as you say that publicly, everyone goes, "Oh, there's Richard advocating for Breitbart again." They ignore the first part where I condemn it as biased garbage for the most point, but they do get some stories right. And it's the same with Vox, and it's the same with Slate, and it's the same with BuzzFeed, and it's the same with the Huffington Post. It's the same with all of these publications. It's the same with further up the food chain, CNN, right? Would I trust CNN to tell me the truth about Donald Trump or his administration? No, but they've done some good political exposés. They broke some big stories. They've also had to apologize and retract a bunch of stuff, especially around Russiagate. Most notably, they fired 3 journalists over publishing a completely fake story. Whatever. The point is, I as an informed person, can pick and choose my stories. Now, in the media landscape we live in, Fox News will even do some good reporting. I know I can't believe I'm saying it, but I have to, it might be once or twice a year, but it will occasionally happen. And the way that the media landscape works now is when somebody reports a story, if you know it's true or you can debunk it, you also get on that story and the reporting around that story becomes a story. That's just how it works. It's like some exponential bullshit machine. That's what Carlos Matza is saying in this video is Fox is so bad, so biased, and no other news company is, especially not Vox, which coincidentally rhymes with Fox, that they should be universally ignored no matter what they're talking about. It is a nonsense premise.
In the world, political journalism looks like this. On either side, you've got the parties fighting for the attention of the press. And in the middle, you've got journalists.
And immediately this video is a lie, because the idea that journalists are completely politically neutral, I think we all know now that's complete garbage, right? Like do you know what I mean? Like, come on, fucking this is like some fucking school child's version of reality.
Sorting through what's important and what's just partisan bullshit. This is called gatekeeping, and it's one of the most important things journalists do.
And let me tell you, when I learned journalism and went to university, gatekeeping never came up. Never, not once. Nope, never got told that the most important job I will do is gatekeeping. Never got told that. My lecturer never said that to me once. Never held a job, actually, in journalism where I got told I should gatekeep and choose what stories to selectively cover through some sort of filter of bias. I never got told that. So, yeah, I don't know where this whole idea of gatekeeping being the most important thing a journalist will do, because I always thought the most important thing a journalist will do is put the truth out in the public domain for the public that it best serves. But whatever. I'm old-fashioned, I guess.
Political operatives can spin whatever talking points they want, but ultimately it's the journalists who decide what's newsworthy enough to pay attention to. But that is in an ideal world, and we don't live in an ideal world. We live in hell. And in hell, there's Fox News.
Okay, so keep in mind as well, the opening title of this video was mocking Fox by showing Fox pundits and Fox reporters saying, thank God for Fox News, thank God for Fox News. The idea is that their biblical obsession, their Catholic obsession, their Christian obsession, whatever you want to call it, is somehow laughable, somehow risible within the context of unbiased journalism. Then you invoke biblical imagery to condemn Fox News. Again, I don't think we're dealing with a high-functioning intellectual that scripts these videos, because immediately you should be able to see the hypocrisy in that. Okay, but whatever. No, we live in hell, and Fox is something that can only exist in hell, that classic biblical place of suffering and torment. Okay, good.
Fox exists in this weird in-between space, because it claims to be a news organization, but it's essentially a Republican front group. The network was founded by GOP political operative Roger Ailes. Not sure why he's posing like Shirley Temple in this picture. Good naughty little Roger. Ailes spent his career advising Republican presidents like Reagan, Bush Sr., and surprise, surprise, Nixon. A memo from the Nixon Library detailed Ailes' dream of launching a Republican news network, a plan for putting the GOP on TV news, which was described as a way to get around the, quote, prejudices of network news selectors. Wow, nightmares really do come true. Ailes eventually founded Fox News, and with it, he turned partisan hackery into an art form. Obama salutes while holding coffee.
Everyone's talking about the disrespectful way the president saluted a Marine yesterday.
Clinton coughs during a campaign event.
We all have our coughing spells, but it doesn't look good when you have all these conspiracy theories about her health.
Right.
Rashida Tlaib says a naughty word about Trump.
We're gonna go in there, we're gonna impeach the motherfucker.
Is this what the Democratic Party has become?
Buckle up,
This
folks.
is the new Democratic Party.
This is the Democratic Party in 2019.
Fox knows this fucking bullshit doesn't actually matter, but that's not the point. The point is pretending that it matters, so voters at home think it does too.
I mean, again, there's so many ways to kind of show the flip side. All of those stories are a joke. I remember the Obama one very distinctly, how like Sean Hannity, who was a fucking clown at the best of times, would be fucking out there saying, look at the disrespectful way he salutes a Marine with a cup of coffee in his hand. Like, come on, man. Like, this just is... It's just ridiculous. And I remember it. It was only Fox that were picking up on that story because it was like a slow news week. And if you remember what Fox News was like when Obama was in the White House, it was just anything they could do to denigrate Obama. It was absurd. But, for example, they're saying here, oh, look, a Democratic, congresswoman uses a naughty word. I mean, we had rolling coverage about Donald Trump saying shithole. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, guys. Like, I think there's a little bit of double standards going on there, and you can't talk about like how another thing we've had is like rolling coverage about Donald Trump is non-presidential in his language and not diplomatic and inelegant, and that story's been run probably like 400 times in various forms since he got elected. Well, yeah, it's not seemly that you said we're at a rally, we're going to impeach the motherfucker. It's not seemly when people say no Republican politician should be allowed out in public. If you see them at a gas station or in a supermarket or in a corner store, you should go up and harass them. And which was reiterated again with Sarah Sanders leaving. This is so it's like you can't have it both ways. But whatever. Anyway, this isn't what I want to dwell on. We can pretty much leave the video here because I just wanted to do my own little debunking of this. Yes, Roger Ailes was a political operative for the Republicans. Yes, absolutely. And Fox News was created to be the GOP propaganda arm. These things are irrefutable, by the way, and it's good that people know this going in. And it's absolutely something you should know. But here's the thing. Vox can't be the one. They can't be the one to point out this fucking bias. Let me just show you the founders and president of Vox, right? And then you tell me if Vox and Fox look incredibly similar, because they do. So over here, we've got Jerome Armstrong. Jerome Armstrong was one of the founders of Vox. And what you will find here is that, oh wait, this is somebody who was who created one of the first ever blogs back in the early day of the internet, which was covered politics with an openly democratic partisan perspective, very open about how they were pro-democracy. He's also a guy who worked with many advocacy groups, right? And this is a guy that, you know, wanted to basically make a pro-democratic website in the form of Vox by going to Washington, having it based in Washington, so they would have access to Democratic politicians. And this is his history. He worked with the U.S. Senate candidate, Sherrod Brown, a Democrat, worked on with Mark Warner's Forward Together PAC. He also did actually work with a Libertarian candidate, Gary Johnson. But this is a political activist that founded Vox, just like Roger Ailes was. Okay, no problem. They also had, another one of the founders was a guy called Marcos Mulitsas. Mulitsas created a website called The Daily Cause, which is where Talcum X, Sean King, the guy who still pretends to be black, despite photographs of him as a redheaded child being out there in the public domain, a guy who recently ran a story that was completely fucking fake about a police officer who was accused of raping somebody, ran it without any basic fact-checking. And guess what? The police officer was found to have done absolutely nothing. All Sean did was delete it all. Anyway, so this is Marcos Mulitsas, who also founded the Daily Cause, and you know this was a guy who was a Republican, right, when he was growing up, and he was, you know, all the things that you associate with Republicans, and he quit and became a staunch Democrat and decided he wanted to make Vox, you know, to basically challenge Democrats. Sorry, challenge Republicans and Republican media spin. You can see here his blogs have attracted the attention of Democratic senators, members of Congress, governors, and candidates, including John Kerry, Barbara Boxer, Harry Reid, Nancy Pelosi, Jimmy Carter, Barack Obama. Okay, right, cool. They also have an annual conference that has guests, that are all Democratic politicians. He was also very openly pro Barack Obama, against Hillary Clinton. So this is another founder of Vox. It gets more interesting when you look at the president of Vox, Marty Moe. Now, Marty Moe, wait, you mean he's actually worked for Democratic representatives? This is, again, president of Vox. Here it is. So not only, who is it he actually served as? God, where was it? That's the content officer, chief operating officer. Yes, there it is. He was appointed to serve as an advisor to Lawrence Summers, the United States Secretary of the Treasury, during the presidency of Bill Clinton, a Democrat. So he actually worked for a Democrat, an elected Democrat president, and also just happens to be married to somebody who serves as the special counsel of the United States of the Interior, also who worked in the White House under Bill Clinton. So you've got these three incredibly important people at Vox who have all openly worked with Democratic politicians, have worked on projects that were all basically Democratic in nature, Democratic bias. And then what about Carlos Matza himself? Well, again, I'm amazed not more people made a big thing about this. But before he worked at Vox, he used to work at a company, and I'm sure you've heard of them. He used to work at a company called Media Matters for America. Now, Media Matters for America, right, was founded by David Brock. And what do? They're basically a Democrat. They admit their Democratic bias. They admit they have left-leaning bias. And they say that they are created to comprehensively monitor, analyze, and correct conservative misinformation in the U.S. media, including having an ongoing war on Fox News. And Carlos Matza worked there for about 5 fucking years. So he's right about Fox. But understand, Vox is not better, it's just the other way. Like, the idea that Vox is a trustworthy source of news is laughable. It's such a risible contention. And he himself has been somebody who admits that he's not an unbiased journalist. He was very happy to work for a publication, which is, of course, all funded privately through PACs and Democratic stuff and all of this. And look, Media Matters helped lay the groundwork for Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign. You know, this is a Democrat activist website, basically. That's all it is. And it's privately funded for that reason. It doesn't claim to have any objective standard. It's one of the most wretchedly biased websites out there. Whenever I see people like retweeting like one of those like videos where it's like Donald Trump saying something dumb and it's got a Media Matters stamp at the bottom, I know almost certainly that, first of all, the clip at best has been removed from context. At worst, has probably been doctored. You know, they're doing that shit now. It's so fucking insane to me. But anyway, so Carlos Matza tries to make himself look like an objective journalist. And keep that phrase there. War on Fox News. Right? The war on Fox News. That's a Media Matters thing that Carlos has continued while he's at Vox. And what do I mean by that? Well, again, I got no problem with Fox being criticized. But what Carlos Matza does primarily is he does a lot of general Vox videos. But the one recurring video he does for Vox is something called Strike Through. And what's Strike Through? This is the Strike Through playlist. Strike Through basically is just anything Fox say is bad because reasons. So, look, let's have a look. You're watching Fox News. You just don't know it. Why Tucker Carlson pretends to hate elites. Again, Tucker Carlson's on Fox News. Fox News keeps forcing Trump into shutdowns. How Trump wins press conferences. Fox News keeps breaking its own... It's just a wall of just being obsessed with Fox. This is not an objective source of information. And then here's the one that just blew my mind. The big problem with comparing Trump to Nixon, so you might be intrigued by the title of the video, right? You might think like, oh, this is actually interesting because people are trying to impeach Trump right now, and Nixon was an absolute greasy, reprehensible thug. Again, you know, in my hierarchy of truly evil, wretched American presidents, you have W at the fucking top, sat entirely by himself, like completely raised the bar of what presidents would do. And then you got Nixon. You know, think of George W. Bush as Jabba, and Nixon, the little thing that sits at the end of Jabba, going, that, you know, that's pretty much the relationship in my mind that those two have, right? So I thought this might be an interesting video. Like, why, you know, why is there a problem comparing Trump to Nixon? What's the difference, right? Well, here's the difference. I'm not even going to play the video. Turns out, you just go to the description. Donald Trump may look a lot like Richard Nixon right now, but there is one glaring difference between the two men's presidencies. Fox News! It's about Fox News again! They've lured you in! They've lured you in to talk about Fox News! They're a joke! So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there, because I saw all these, like, debunking videos, like, you know, fucking, you know, and this is why it's wrong, and this is why it's wrong. It's like, no, like, guys, like, just go to the fucking heart, follow the money. They're all Democratic operatives that founded the fucking website, and Carlos Matza worked at a Democratic operative fucking website who admit they have a war on Fox News, and now he's making videos endlessly about Fox News. That's all you need to say. He's a biased source. He's not an objective journalist by any stretch of the imagination. So anyway, Steve Crowder did a debunking video, and he always debunks Carlos Matza's work, and he always debunks Fox. And what he means by debunks, they're not really debunking videos. He basically sits there and says, you know,
what is it if you
Carlos Matza's an idiot. This is why, you know, blah blah blah. And I'll just play you the sort of debunking component of it, so you can get an idea as to why this video sort of stirred Carlos Matza up to do what he did.
Your opinion. Have they ever changed your opinion? If so, when? I'm really curious.
Please let us know. I don't know.
Because we have people who used to watch Vox before they were, and we always watch Vox, but used to watch Vox unironically. And I said, well, what really compelled you to watch Vox? And they said, I don't know. They had no answer for it, so they made a new video here claiming that conservative media completely controls the narrative on TV. We're going to go through it point by point. Sorry, this is a little bit long.
Yeah.
They focus on Fox News AM radio. Let's set it up. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No! Nine movers! Nine movers!
About to feel stupid.
With the story that was being told about.
Now, this is just weird to me right at the start with the Vox rebuttal, and maybe there's a joke I'm missing here, but that looked to me like, I don't know, is it members of the cartel? Is it meant to be a Mexican gang? I don't understand. And why is there a stereotypical Mexican getting locked in a box and they throw a phone in there with Carlos Mazzatone as well? So immediately off the bat, I'm kind of like, I don't really know why this imagery is here for what is meant to be a rebuttal to a political video. You know, this is what I'm just saying, right? Like, you know, there's a lot of semi-logical stuff going on.
I'm done. I'm finally done.
Sorry about you having to watch this again, by the way.
It's rotting my brain, and only boomers watch that crap anyway. From now on, I'm watching real news. Stuff that actually matters.
It's a giant remote.
And I'll never have to worry about Fox News ever again.
Two of the headlines on Fox News tonight
Gotten a lot of attention thanks to Fox News.
Started on Fox News. Makes my head explode
Don't you love how they
when I see
unironically
these
had
clips from
Brian
Fox
Williams
News.
and Donna Brazile in there? Like they were
It's
a beacon of
everywhere.
truth.
There's no escape.
First off, what is? How does blood come out from your eye? It's not on the brow
This is the high-level debunking that we're about to get into. But
ridge.
Yeah.
By the way, $200 million from NBC Universal. This is what you get for it,
Good
by the
job.
way. So much money. So it's predicated
$3 bottle
before we
of
move on to the
Fig Lip.
content, which is incorrect. Video is predicated on the idea that you need television to consume media.
Right.
The numbers show us, of course, that if you're under 50, you're not getting your news from TV at all. Also, by the way, numbers and a $200 million investment from NBC Universal that they'll never get back suggests most people under 50 aren't getting their news from Vox.
Yeah.
So it's a give and take. Let's move on to the substance of ish.
In an ideal world, political journalism looks like this. On either side, you've got the parties, fighting for the attention of the press. And in the middle, you've got journalists, sorting through what's important and what's just partisan bullshit. This is called gatekeeping, and it's one of the most important things journalists do. Political
boy.
operatives can spin whatever talking points they want, but ultimately, it's the journalists who decide
Yes,
what's
right.
Yeah.
The guy at Vox is going to take healthcare, not Russia.
Ideal world. And we don't live in an ideal world. We live in hell.
Is that the one from Donna Brazile that was fed to us beforehand? I'll take
That's
it.
the one.
Oh my
This
gosh.
is really concerning. Notice their ideal view of journalism. This is really important here.
Yeah.
They think the most important role of journalism should be to be gatekeepers.
Right. Deciding what we see.
We know that it should be to inform the public. They want to actually decide what information the public has access to. They say that's the most important role of journalism. How about the most important role is getting it right?
Yeah.
So keep all this in mind because
I
we're going to come
disagree with
back
that.
to it. All right, next.
But it's a fairly
Fox
obvious
exists
point.
in this weird in-between space because it claims to be a news organization, but it's essentially a Republican front
I
group.
hate that he's Fox.
The network was founded by GOP political operative Roger Ailes. Not sure why he's posing like Shirley Temple in this picture.
He's not.
Good shit. Lollipop. Ailes spent his
No, it's like
career
a Rorschach
advising
test.
Republican
You see
presidents
Shirley
Ronald
Temple if you
Reagan,
want
Bush
to see
Sr.,
Shirley
and
Temple.
surprise,
I want to
surprise.
be Shirley Temple.
You only see Shirley
be
Temple because
honest.
you were waiting for an excuse all day to sing that.
Right?
Real journalism.
Hey guys, look at this. Doesn't this mug look like Shirley Temple? No, I don't think it does. All right, listen.
So, you know, listen, you can see straight away, you know, like this is the level we're talking about here. So, like, honestly, I think if you want to debunk someone's points, you don't need to, and again, remember, these are ostensibly meant to be serious videos, yes? Crowder tries to exist in that gray area of wanting to be informative and wanting to be comedic, and it, in my opinion, achieves neither particularly well. But why do you need to constantly belittle this one guy for being an overt homosexual? I do not understand how that benefits you at all. And this is the point, that this latest video did it again. It's like 20 minutes long. It's all the same jokes. Ha, he wants to dress up as Shirley Temple. Ha, because all gays like to dress up as women and are effeminate. It's like, These stereotypes are so fucking outdated and so not helpful, and actually make you look like a fucking moron. This is what I don't get. It's like, I understand. If I go to a comedy club and the stand-up comedian is doing like dodgy jokes about homosexuals, like in current year, whatever. At least the setting, you know, I expect that, you know. The material, I'm not going to laugh. It's not going to amuse me, whatever. But, you know, if you go to a comedy club and then you get offended, you're a fucking moron. I got no truck with those people. But remember, this is meant to be an informative video debunking the man's points. And you sat here saying, haha, look at this gay guy. Look at this outrageous gay. I don't understand it. And I can't get on board with that as, like, a serious form of discourse at all. So what this triggered was basically Carlos Matza got pissed off about it. And listen, it's childish and pathetic to take the bait and have a little hissy tantrum on fucking Twitter, and that's what he did. But this is a recurring thing. It's been going on for a while, and yeah, Carlos Matza was pissed off about it. So after this rebuttal video went out, he did a tweet, and I think I've got the right one here. There's a lot to unpack, as the woke people say. So here it is. I have a pretty thick skin. Lies, of course. Definitely doesn't have a thick skin, because whenever anyone criticizes him ever at all on any basis, he, you know, will cry about it on Twitter. In fact, that's pretty much like when he's not just retweeting woke bullshit news, he's complaining about how terrible he's treated in the media sphere as if he is indeed a victim. Remember, this is a guy who has had a golden ticket in terms of work, jobs, how he's been positioned. He is basically a democratic activist working for a company that has been propped up by like 4 rounds of VC funding. I'm sure he gets a not unsubstantial salary. And as I said, there is a power in itself by being the face and voice of a huge media division like Vox. Understand Vox Media? They own The Verge, you know, they own obviously Vox. There's a ton of other stuff they own. So just saying. So he doesn't have a thick skin at all. And he says, but something has been really bothering me. Since I started working at Vox, Steven Crowder has been making video after video debunking strike-through. Every single video has included repeated, overt attacks on my sexual orientation and ethnicity. Here's a sample. So what he's done is, and this is obviously a common tactic, that whenever people get, you know, whenever people that have ties to these big media groups and they belong to a protected group, they know that if they can find anything that attacks them on that basis, that's the silver bullet that kills the werewolf, right? And again, I don't think anything Steve Crowder did was hate speech, but what I'm going to play you, even out of context, these are terms of service violations on Twitter. That is, on YouTube. That is inarguable. So you just listen to this and you tell me how you feel about these quotes. Keep in mind, these all come from videos supposedly debunking Carlos Matza's work, which is eminently debunkable. I just did it. You'll notice I just debunked what he was talking about and showing how he's a hypocrite without drawing attention to his sexual orientation, which matters not one bit to the discussion.
Video. With our favorite lispy sprite from Vox. It's ridiculous.
Now, making fun of his speech impediment, that's fine.
It's bonkers. You're being given a free pass as a crappy writer because you're gay.
That center line on his little queer graph there. What is
well, now
line?
The graph is queer?
Violence, filth.
Okay, so the little queer could eat his chips all nonchalant.
I mean, like, it's already bad enough, right? I mean,
it's cold for rape, Mr. Queer eating chips on the Vox channel. Chip, 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 but you can eat just one. Like dicks. This is what Mr. Gay Vox wants to do. Mr. Lispy Queer from Vox. What were you holding, gay Latino from Vox? Even his hand movement in fast motion is gay. Now we're here with the short-haired angry lesbian on Skype. And cable news bitching. Two gay guys sitting there eating a banana. We get the symbolism there. The truth is hiding in a closet 2 weeks later, probably along to his next Pride Parade outfit. This guy on the gay semi-Latino Vox. Oh, okay, so you really are just an angry little queer. All right, I can't deal with this Sprite anymore. Okay, he just sachets across without, like, just, the gay Vox Sprite is wrong! Now he could be a tranny, Your Honor! How many lispy, angry Sprites and Vox sachet across your screen and try and tell you otherwise? Or you, by the way, the gay Mexican guy, the gay Latino V-neck. Gay Mexican. Or Mexican gay guy used to work. Mexican gay Latino there at Vox. Oh, gay Latino from Vox. The token Vox gay atheist Sprite with surprisingly flaccid chest, considering how thin he is. It's very bizarre to me. Ad hominem, yes, but it was an addendum to fact.
So, I mean, look, probably it's about 50% of those clips actually, like, don't really fall into anything. Like, calling him a gay Mexican is probably about as, like, I don't know why it's relevant, but, like, saying it's not a problem. But you can see how there's plenty of stuff there that definitely falls, under the terms of service problems, like the terms of service that you agree to when you're on YouTube. You cannot be calling somebody repeatedly a little queer, a dick-eating queer, a lispy queer. You cannot say this. You cannot specifically target an individual and say this as outlined on YouTube's terms of service. The end. It is so open and shut. And as I said, 50% of that is just garbage, and it's pathetic to include it. But the other 50% makes his point for him. And how nobody can listen to that and not think Crowder is a fucking child and an idiot to fall into this trap just for the sake of having edge and trying to appeal to his edgy little audience. Like, it's frankly embarrassing how stupid you have to be to trip over that fucking hurdle. You know, like, all you have to do, just maybe don't attack the person you're debunking for being a homosexual. Pretty straightforward, right? Doesn't do it. Can't do it. Then there's some other stuff that we definitely need to address here with Carlos Matza, because obviously he's got to make it sound as bad as he possibly can.
Lewis Torrin Thumb.
I've been called an anchor baby, a lispy queer, a Mexican, etc.
You're not even a real journalism.
I mean, unless I miss something and he's not Mexican, I don't really understand how Mexican's not a slur. If he's not a Mexican, then it's just a mistake. So again, also not a slur. These videos get millions of views on YouTube. Every time one gets posted, I wake up to a wall of homophobic racist abuse on Instagram and Twitter. Then he said, last year I got doxxed and it scared the fuck out of me. My phone was bombarded with hundreds of texts at the exact same time. The messages, debate Stephen Crowder, debate Stephen Crowder, debate Stephen Crowder, debate, and all these numbers. So let me just tell you a few things about this. First of all, surely you understand, right, that if these people were real and were calling your phone and sending you text messages, you putting their phone numbers out into the public domain would lead to people probably doing the same to them. So you just lost the moral high ground. But what's interesting is, and I verified this myself, these numbers don't exist. And another journalist went through and checked all of these to see if they could find anybody. Well, these numbers aren't in service, and the reason they're not in service is what it looked like was somebody, basically one person. You can get these things like spoof, kind of like auto dialers, and it creates a fake number. Phone scam companies use them, so it makes it look like you're coming from a number in a different state. Really, you could be on the other side of the world, and clearly somebody has access to one of this some of this software, and one person has basically spammed him with debate Stephen Crowder. This was verified by an independent journalist. These numbers are not in service. So the idea he got doxxed en masse is a lie, and he knows it's a lie, and it's a lie that has been repeated in the media. So you lose the moral high ground, because if it had happened, which it didn't, but if it had, you just doxed those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. But it didn't happen, and those numbers aren't real, and it was one person doing it. So not quite the not pleasant, unacceptable, but not the wall of harassment that you're trying to misrepresent it as. So These videos make me the target of ridiculous harassment, and it makes life sort of miserable. I waste a lot of time blocking abusive crowd of fanboys, and this shit derails your mental health. Now, listen, it's not nice. I get death threats and stuff myself. I've said it many times, so I don't go to events anymore. It's why I have a very limited channel through how I interact with my fan base now. And I get dumb shit all the time, every day.
You're not even a real journalist.
Every day. And it isn't nice, and it probably can impact on your mental health. But that being said, I do think we have all the tools necessary. You can just block it. You know, for example, you can just set your Twitter account to basically only be, the notifications you get are only from friends or only from people you follow. There are tools in place to limit this. And I think if you're a public person, you need to use those tools, because you are going to get abused. You are going to get people that just say outrageous shit about you, and it's never going to go away. And you've got two choices. You can engage and fight them and call them idiots like I do, or you can just ignore it. And then he goes on to say, that being said, I'm not mad at Crowder. Well, of course you're not. Because, you know, this isn't about just him, right? As we're going to find out. There will always be monsters in the world. Now, again, I think Crowder's a fucking moron. I think he is another one of these, like, meatheads. You know, they don't have a lot going on upstairs.
You're not even real journalism.
But they desperately want to show that they're the complete package and that they're really intellectuals and they really understand politics and they're oh so funny and oh so clever, when the reality is they're just not that bright. You know, Hassan's another example like this. You know, he's a brochurist is the term I use. These are people who desperately want to be more intelligent than what they are, but they just aren't, and they never will be. And they can't even hold coherent thoughts in their head or articulate their thoughts. They're just frat boys posing as being better and bigger and smarter than that. And frankly, when you see them in the political sphere, you just have to know that's what they are. You can still enjoy their content. That's fine. Nobody should have an issue with people enjoying their content. But again, people have to just know what it is. Like, I would not consider Steven Crowder an authoritative source on anything, frankly. So whatever. But am I not doing the same thing by taking that stance? I don't really know. Doing the same thing in what way? How would I not be? Because I am smarter than those people, and I do make a point of informing myself before I speak, and I do try and apply things like nuance rather than like just regurgitating talking points that I think my fans might like. Because, you know, for all you want to talk about, like, you know, the skeptic sphere, right? The skeptic sphere and BreadTube are just both as insufferable as each other, because they just adopt a very narrow prism through which they view the world, and they immediately fall in line on topics, and they all agree universally with one take. They don't have a particularly nuanced worldview, because all they want is the win for their team, their side. So they know, even and it's worse sometimes, because they know what they're saying is a lie, and they know what they're doing is like very selective. You know, like, for example, when the skeptics come out and they go, oh, look, censorship again. Oh, look, Sargon of Akkad, isn't he brilliant because he's in our gang? And then all the people over here are like, well, look at this. You know, it's like, guys, it's just nonsense, isn't it? Like, you know, you can deviate from issue to issue. You don't have to hold a doctrine in place. But, so no, I don't think I do that, honestly. I don't think that applies to me. So just saying, you know, I look at an issue, I inform myself about the issue, I arrive at a conclusion based on information, and when I break this stuff down, I try and share as much of that information with you, and I expect you to go away and make up your own mind, and I don't care if you agree with me, and I don't care if you disagree with me, right? I am not just pandering to you, though, and I'm never going to do that, so no, I'm not the same. So, sorry. Anyway. I'm fucking pissed at YouTube, which claims to support its LGBT creators and explicit policies against harassment and bullying. And this is what I mean. Like, look, let's just read these policies. The harassment and cyberbullying policy. Now, I will say, these are so broad. So broad. that even this video that you'll be watching on YouTube now in the future would fall afoul of this. Because of the things I've said about Steven Crowder and Carlos Mazza. So it says here, if you're posting content, do not post content on YouTube if it fits any of the descriptions noted below. 1, revealing someone's personal information, blah. Content that is deliberately posted in order to humiliate someone. Well, I've done that. Like, we're friends now, but do you guys remember Black Enola? Remember him? Well, me and him had that ridiculous beef in League of Legends back in the day, right? And I made an entire video that fucking just wrecked him. He even said to me that video, like, it took him a long time, like, career-wise to recover from that, because it was just such a thorough reckoning, because I took my time over it. I got all the things he said, all the things he did, and it was all because he was in with like Riot Games workers and League of Legends content creators, and I was obviously like constantly like firing shots across Riot Games' bow. So he did the thing I will never let stand. He came out and implied that my journalism was lies. So, all right, motherfucker, let's get all up in your shit. You know, people have been making this mistake for years. They'll continue making it. Call me fat, call me bald, call me a loser. Whatever you got to do, whatever you got to say. Do not say I'm a fucking liar, sir. Otherwise, there's going to be problems. If it's in print and it's got my fucking name on it, it's the goddamn fucking truth, and I live by that. And I die by that. So anyway, Black Enola, basically, I wrecked him with that video. Now, that video was explicitly created with the intent to humiliate him. So I should be banned. That video should be deleted at least. It's still there. What about the video I just made about Sargon? Or the Mr. Metica video about Sargon? Obviously that is that to humiliate him. He's a fucking idiot. He's an idiot. He's a guy who got too big for his boots. Can I say that? I mean, so that clause is ridiculous. And yes, under that TOS, guess what? Crowder's content definitely is designed to humiliate Carlos Mazza. I mean, how can we say not? It says content that makes hurtful and negative personal comments, videos about another person. Again, how fucking broad is that? How do I know what is hurtful? You might be able to laugh it off. I mean, that hurtful is such a very subjective thing. And then negative personal comments. Well, you know, I can make a video today. Let's pick someone randomly out of the chat. Let's pick someone who doesn't sub. You'll do, Shigmus. I can make a video today. Right, today. Shigmus has BO. Right? It's not very nice. I stood next to Shigmus at an FGC event and he fucking stank. Right? I make that video. Put it on YouTube. Should I be banned now? It's negative. That's crazy. Content that incites others to harass or threaten individuals, that's fine. Content featuring non-consensual sex, I mean, yes, obviously. What? Do we need a policy for that? Do we need a specific policy for that? Like, okay. Content threatening specific individuals with physical harm or destruction of property. Interesting. A lot of Antifa videos would fall into that category. And obviously right-wing extremist videos, of course, but I mean...
You're not even a real journalism.
That goes without saying.
That's right.
Content...
Should have gave this sub money to Shigmus.
Yeah, you should have done. Should have saved him. Content featuring abusive or threatening behavior directed at a minor, obviously.
That's right.
:D.
Not :D. Put it this way. Sunny D tastes nice. :D, not so much. I suppose it depends on the :D. Anyway, obviously content featuring abusive or threatening behavior at children, yes, obviously. Sexualizing or degrading an individual who is engaged or present in an otherwise non-sexual context.
You're not even a real
So that's
journalism.
also pretty broad. Oh, thanks, Shigness. There you go.
Right.
You got gifted it. You're in the house now. You're okay. You will never be accused of having bodily odor again. So, I mean, that is also pretty subjective. Like, it sounds like a sensible policy on the surface of it, but, you know, for example, if somebody made a video if someone took footage of me and made a video why I think Richard Lewis is a snack, and they made a video saying, look how gorgeous he is, you know, just I want his stubbled, I just want him to rub it all over my face, that would be sexualizing me and potentially degrading me. So that video would have to be taken off. And you'd have to be banned. So again, that's a very broad thing. And then this content claiming that specific victims of public violent incidents or their next of kin are actors, or that their experiences are false. Like, come on. And what you'll find is, and this, because of this stuff that went on with Vox, this didn't draw a lot of attention, didn't get a lot of news. They are now banning conspiracy theory videos. Now, listen, there is a world of difference between Alex Jones, a man who poses as a news outlet. Again, you'll notice a recurring thing whenever we talk about these guys. Hey, everybody, I'm a journalist. That's what I am, and I'm a super brave journalist, and I'm the only one who'll tell the truth about the globalists and the globalist agenda. Right? So you got that guy, but then when he wants to fucking actually be held up to a journalistic standard, he goes, I'm a pioneer. I'm a human being, and I'm coming. You know, it's like, fuck me, dude. You know, he wants to be anything but. Now, here's the thing. Alex Jones posing as a news outlet saying that these parents are actors and their children aren't dead is really fucking irresponsible, because if you're the type of person that watches Alex Jones for anything other than comedy, your box is gone. And if your box is gone, I don't know what you're liable to do, because when your box is gone, you need to go to a place to get your box fixed. That's how life works. So, we saw it, for example, with that guy that went down to that pizza fucking shop and just with a gun. Where's the child sex dungeon? Sir, this is a Wendy's, right? You know what I mean? So you had that happen. And I'm not saying necessarily Alex Jones can be held entirely responsible for that, but if he exercised some editorial control and decency instead of just spitting out every fucking wild thing that crops into his motherfucking head, that, holy fuck, did that actually happen? Yeah. Yeah, he went down to, what was it, Planet Ping Pong or whatever. Some guy with a gun went down to the fucking pizza shop that was mentioned in the Pizzagate theory with a fucking gun, and, like, I think he discharged a round into the ceiling and was arrested. That did happen. And this is what I'm talking about. One of the consistent things, and again, I find it so tedious when people say, oh, you always defend Donald Trump, you always defend Fox News. It's like, no, right. Everybody, if you are in the media and you are not telling the truth, you are dangerous. I don't care what your political persuasion is. If you are lying to the general populace from a platform that is meant to be the one where you are, the truth must reign supreme, I think you are the enemy of the people. You're certainly an enemy of me. That's what all of this is about. So when the media lies about Donald Trump, yes, I'm in the unenviable position, especially in this landscape, having to come out on Donald Trump. When they lie about Hillary Clinton, I'll do the same. There is no political bias there. There can't be. The truth has to be above political bias. So anyway, back to Alex Jones and conspiracy theory videos. People have the right to believe a conspiracy theory. People have the right to share a conspiracy theory. There is a world of difference between Joe Schmo. Like, I've seen some unbelievable conspiracy video channels, dude. Like, this QAnon bullshit, by the way, this is the maddest shit. And the people who believe this need medicine, right? But, you know, like, you have the right to believe it, and you have the right to share that information. YouTube are now deleting conspiracy theory videos. We will lose videos that take an alternative look at 9/11, for example. We'll lose videos that take an alternative look at the official story of the Kennedy assassination. You know, we're gonna all of that's gonna go, like, because you're not allowed to do that specifically as well. You can't say, "Oh, look, Boston Marathon. That person's in shock, looks like and doesn't look like he's hurt at all," because shock does that to you. He's a crisis actor. Now, yes, it's dumb, it's stupid. But I don't want people being deplatformed on that basis. That is not what a free speech landscape looks like. And it is strange, isn't it, how certain things you can't have a conspiracy theory about. But if all this flat Earth bullshit, get all that banned then, eh? All the anti-vax shit, get all that off. You know, but that's unimportant, isn't it? But this questioning the government stuff, well, we got to get rid of that. So that's problematic to me, but whatever. The point is, these policies are broad as a motherfucker. And then, look, he highlights the bit that I highlighted, the unbelievably broad provisions, which would undoubtedly mean Steven Crowder's videos would be in violation of this TOS. Everyone's videos would be. Carlos Matz's videos probably are. You know, he's done a video when every time he mocks Roger Ailes. Roger Ailes is a fat, wretched, tumor with legs and a face. But at the end of the day, if the YouTube rules are there for everybody, then
real journalism.
That's how that is. You got to apply it.
10 months of forgetting to unsubscribe.
Nice. Good job, mate. Yeah, he attacks Tucker Carlson all the time. So what? This has been going on for years, and I've tried to flag this shit on several occasions, but YouTube is never going to actually enforce its policies because Crowd has 3 million YouTube subscribers, and enforcing their rules will get them accused on anti-conservative bias, which they inarguably have. Which is all to say, I work my ass off to create smart, thorough, and here comes the self-aggrandizing, because, these people can't even stay in one lane. Are you a victim or are you a demigod? Like, which one is it, I work my fucking ass off to create smart, thorough, engaging content for YouTube, a company that claims to give a shit about LGBT creators. And it's miserable to have that same company helping facilitate a truly mind-melting amount of direct harassment. My family sees this shit. I've had to explain to my much younger sister what the fuck Steven Crowder is and ask my siblings not to respond. It's exhausting. I wish YouTube gave enough of a shit to stop its platform becoming a fucking playground for assholes. This isn't about silencing conservatives. I don't give a flying fuck if conservatives on YouTube disagree with me. You evidently do. But by refusing to enforce its anti-harassment policy, YouTube is helping incredibly powerful cyberbullies organize and target people they disagree with. Anyway, if you want to help, I guess you can go to this dude's videos and flag them. Now, there are several platforms that also say there's a problem with organizing mass flagging, encouraging people to target others in an unnatural and inorganic fashion. Like you say, this is pathetic. And again, you're leveraging your entire audience to go and basically flag Steven Crowder's video. But let's have a look at the subtext here. The subtext is you're now invoking your audience to go and attack Steven Crowder's channel, his audience. Or is it only people with right-leaning bias that are capable, that would ever dream of harassing people? This isn't one of the forms of cognitive dissonance you'll see a lot of extreme progressives have. And that is that they think, well, because we're on the right side and we're so good and we're so noble, everybody on our side is good and noble and gracious and would never hurt anybody or take anything too far. Hey, guys, Antifa are really anti-fascists that are out there peacefully protesting. There was no problems at all with them. Look, they're even called anti-fascists. And yes, and it truly is the People's Democratic Republic of China. Yes. It's ridiculous. And when you stir up groups, within every group there is a rogue element. There is a lunatic fringe, right, left. It doesn't matter. It's like I say, the extremists, they don't, it doesn't matter what they believe politically. They're not even bothered about that. What you'll find in every extremist is they'll latch onto any ideology, actually. It's the ideology is the excuse for the extreme behavior. That's all they really care about. They find a cause, any cause, and then they act like an extreme fucking lunatic to enforce that cause, because that's what they want to do. So let's not pretend that when you say, hey, go mass flag Steven Crowder's channel, you're not potentially invoking other people to do worse things, because you are. And this is the type of thing you said you were against. Your point is clear. You don't need to tweet that part out. You've atted YouTube. You're one of the protected class of people as recognized by YouTube. So you're going to get your day with YouTube. They are going to respond to you and reply to you. You don't need to artificially invoke your audience to go and fight on your behalf. Again, the problem isn't Crowder. There will always be fucking assholes trying to get attention by being bigots. The problem is YouTube is designed to give those assholes a megaphone, push new followers in their direction, and keep them listening. It's a weapon. YouTube does not give a fuck about queer creators. YouTube does not give a fuck about marginalized creators. YouTube does not give a fuck about diversity or inclusion. YouTube wants clicks. YouTube wants clicks. YouTube wants clicks. This still goes on, by the way. Harassment isn't siloed. Every time he makes one of these videos, his fans flood the comments on the original Vox video. So a piece I spent 4 weeks working on it is drowning in homophobic and abusive comments and downvotes. Other Vox fans see it. It's humiliating. Just so you know, that is one of the problems in the public square. But you can filter out words on YouTube, so comments don't show. YouTube has their own filters that will stop, for example, the spicy F and other homophobic slurs from showing. It automatically deletes and removes them. So I find this statement to probably be another lie. When I go to Vox videos, I don't see walls of homophobic abuse. When I watch a Vox video or go to a Vox video, I see lots of comments, yeah, slay, all of that nonsense, and pretty much agreeing with whatever the sentiment of the video is. I cannot explain how awful it is to see a video where you're called a lispy queer, pass 1 million views, thousands of comments piling on. How the fuck are LGBT people expected to produce interesting content in this environment? And again, look, I understand the point, and I agree. He shouldn't be saying that, and I agree it's a violation of YouTube's TOS, and I agree it should have some form of penalty attached to it. And I've said all that, right? So I won't repeat it. But the idea you have to engage with it, the idea you have to see it, you are involved in a war with Steven Crowder's channel. You are involved in a war with conservative media. You have chosen to fight and you force yourself to constantly re-engage with these people for the purposes of your job, to create content around that so you can appeal to your base in the same way they make content around your content as they try and appeal to their base. That's the game. Don't pretend that it's like, oh, I'm just, you know, I'm walking through the YouTube forest in Dingley Dell, and oh no, the videos, I can't not see them. It's so humiliating for me to be forced to watch like Clockwork Orange with my eyes. That isn't happening. Again, I will go so far as to say, probably the majority of LGBTQ people don't watch Steven Crowder videos. Just also going to go out on a limb and say that, yes, I'm sure there'll always be that one person, like, again, he or she will be in the YouTube comment now, right, saying, I'm gay and I watch Steven Crowder. Richard, go fuck yourself. But in general, I think it's probably safe to say that, you know, he's not somebody with a huge cross-section of gay fans, right? Anyway, can't fucking wait to see YouTube's Pride Month video where they pretend to give a shit about the well-being of LGBT creators in order to, checks notes, help draw more advertisers to the platform to make more money. This is an interesting backlash I'm noticing more and more. It's a topic for another video. Where woke capitalism, especially around Pride Month, the Budweiser one was outrageous. Never seen anything like it. I think they had bottles for like people. It was like, and for asexual people who never have sex. It's like, guys, we're getting way out of fucking control on this pandering bullshit. And what's interesting is, the LGBT community are actually pushing back. They're actually saying, this woke capitalism, it's nonsense because you've got a bottling plant in a company that imprisons homosexuals. And I actually like this. I like this. I like the fact the LGBTQ community is seeing through the corporate bullshit. And long may that trend continue. But equally as well, it does seem a little bit like, when are you going to pay attention to us? They said, as Pride Week became Pride Month, and all reference of it becoming an entire month. Good luck finding that information as to when that change actually occurred. When are you going to pay attention to us? So now the corporations do. They're absolutely pandering to you and insulting your intelligence. And now you're saying, God, you're just pandering to us and insulting our intelligence. Yeah. They're corporations. What do you want? Do you want like fucking nuanced, well thought out content that changes the world? They don't give a fuck. Slap a rainbow on a bottle, make you feel good about buying it, and count the money and fuck you forever. That's corporations. You shouldn't be looking to them to make a moral statement about anything. They're garbage. They were a mistake. They were never supposed to exist. We fucked up. Anyway, and then this is where, perhaps some people on the left were going to warm to me and going, oh, wow, Richard, this is sort of a nuanced take, actually. I never thought you'd slam on Crowder. I never thought you would say this isn't censorship. I had no idea that you could think about this in such a subtle fashion. Well, now I'm about to lose them again because this is ridiculous. And the fact that he continually perpetuates this lie shows that this line that we agreed to is constantly sliding away. So a lot of people have pointed out that Crowder is wearing a socialism is for spicy F-word shirt in several of his videos. Turns out he sells that shirt to his YouTube fans and proudly displays it in his Twitter cover photo. What are these platforms doing? Now, the thing is, the shirt doesn't say what he claims it does. Now, clearly, it's meant to say that. That is the joke. But when are we? We'll let Record become Steam.
Hello, fellow gays. It's us, $1 billion corporation. We support your lifestyle now that it's been federally legalized and it's socially accepted, allowing for us to capitalize on your existence. Look, we even changed the colors of logo by RP.
Yeah, classic, isn't it? Thanks for the donation, buddy. So it doesn't say what he says it says, and he constantly harps on about this. And the T-shirt actually got took off the store because of this drama. And it's like, guys, are we now at a point where you can't even, so the joke is that it might say the bad word, but it doesn't. So we're now saying that if a word looks like a word, or if you allude that the bad word exists, it's as bad as the bad word. Like, that cannot be a linguistic standard we accept. That cannot be allowed to stand, dude.
Hi, Dad. Hope you're doing good. Love you still. Please come home.
Yeah, I'll try. I might come home. But your mother's pissing me off, dude. I'm sorry. I just got to stay away in the man cave. But anyway, yeah, too real, I know, right? It's not that I regret you. I regret having you, son. I just think sometimes how my life could have been different. One of them. One of those too real conversations when your dad's arsehole. Anyway. Leave it in. So it doesn't say that. It objectively doesn't say that. And you cannot demand that we penalize people and censor them, and don't allow them to sell things that say words that sound like bad words that we now deem socially unacceptable. So that is a ridiculous thing. And he constantly tells the lie that it says this, and it doesn't say that. And I know it's like, haha, but it's meant to. I mean the bad word. Yeah, but that's the joke. Like, you cannot fucking present it as saying that. If it did say that, you win, but it doesn't. If Crowder loses his channel, I'm going to get hit with another avalanche of abuse and will likely get doxxed again. That's what's so fucked up about these platforms. They create wildly powerful monsters and then ask the targets of abuse to draw further attention to themselves. Love to sit at home editing together clips of my abuse in order to publicly beg a platform to pay attention. Again, you didn't have to do any of these things. Just saying. Love to be an adult gay person and still have my identity marked by public humiliation. For the record, it's been, and it just keeps going on and on. It is mental. This is such a childish tantrum. And again, the idea that you need to do any of this publicly, by the way, when, as I'll demonstrate, Vox have business ties with YouTube. You can just back channel, and probably already did. For the record, it's been over 24 hours since they tweeted this. Every social media page I have is being bombarded. Crowder has accused me of being part of an NBC conspiracy, re-upped his harassing videos, and generally laughed this all off. Still nothing from YouTube. Day 2 of the worst pile-on I've ever experienced. Every account I have is getting cased. Inboxes full of death threats and spicy F. Still no response from Team YouTube. Meanwhile, Steven Crowder posts apologized for what? Andrew Breitbart. That was the famous interview. And again, I don't know why Crowder is invoking Andrew Breitbart. They are not the same. They are at all. Anyway, so then what came out after this was YouTube responded and said they were going to investigate. And then they got back to him and they said, here's the findings of our investigation. Now, I just want to say, YouTube are so good at just fucking up. And remember, I was on the phone with someone from YouTube getting my own channel restrictions lifted because of the rivalry sponsorship the day this happened. And me and this YouTube employee were just laughing about it. He's like, it's just fucking wild over here. And I was like, listen, I am sure you are getting fucking slammed right now, brother. Like, you know, my problems just don't matter in the grand scheme of things, because this is gonna go fucking national. This is gonna go viral, and of course it did. It blew up huge. And you have to remember, a big, huge monolithic corporation like YouTube, the idea that they're going to be able to universally apply the rules to everybody, kind of unrealistic. It shouldn't be, but it's just the nature of the beast. The idea they're going to see and notice everything, you know, they have to think. There are so many users on YouTube, so many channels with millions, just millions of followers. It's not even a big deal really to have 1 million followers, you know. And then you've got the people with a few hundred and 500,000, and then you get people like me just over 100. Think about how many communities there are on platforms, and they have to sort of get in between all this shit and try and then find rulings and it is tough for them, which isn't to say that I entirely sympathize. In this instance, they managed to fuck up so badly, they pissed everyone off. It is insane. My mind is blown. My mind is blown at how badly they handled this. Even by YouTube standards, this was bad. So, thanks again for taking the time to share all of this information with us. Too much information, Carlos. We take allegations of harassment very seriously. We know this is important and impacts a lot of people. Our team spent the last few days conducting an in-depth review of the videos flagged to us, and while we found language that was clearly hurtful, the videos as posted don't violate our policies. Wrong, because he linked to the policies they violated. How can you not know your own policies? Now, listen, I think your policies are ridiculous, overly broad, and lend themselves to nobody being able to say anything critical on your platform at all. I don't like them. I don't support them, but they do exist. You can't just gaslight this motherfucker and say, Doesn't violate our policies. I've linked you the policies. They're right there. It says anything hurtful, anything designed to humiliate. Both of those things are true. Any negative comments? They're definitely negative comments. What are you doing? We've included more info below to explain this decision. Oh, please do. Pray tell. As an open platform, it's crucial for us to allow everyone, from creators to journalists to late-night TV hosts, to express their opinions within the scope of our policies. Opinions can be deeply offensive, not according to your policies, YouTube. But if they don't violate our policies, they'll remain on our site. Even if a video remains on our site, it doesn't mean we endorse or support the viewpoint. That's fine. I don't think anyone realistically should be accusing you of that. I know Carlos is, but... you know, I think he was a bit hysterical at this point. You know, I can kind of sympathize. There are other aspects of the channel that we're still evaluating. We'll be in touch with further updates. Now, when this went down, obviously, everyone was up in arms because they can just link to the policy. It's just right there. So YouTube just lied to the face of Carlos Mazza. Said it didn't violate the policies. It absolutely did. There's a broader conversation to have about whether or not those policies should exist, whether they should review those policies, whether those policies are actually realistic and enforceable. But to say it doesn't violate your policies when your policies are very clear is just nonsensical. So, huge fuck up. All the usual people are out there, you know. I think I saw that insufferable twat Sean, you know, the English guy who thinks he's like smart because he just cherry picks information. And again, he, like as I said, just as insufferable as the right wing dudes that do the exact same. Where it's like, you know, here's some things I've cherry picked, and I'll just omit a bunch of other stuff over here. It does it all the time, You know, he was like tweeting saying, look, here's your policies. And he's right. They're right there. Those are the policies. So it was a ridiculous stance. And then, of course, there was a pretty big backlash from all the people that were sympathetic to Carlos Mazza's position. Now, let me just find this. Oh, God, where was it? Was it this here on... yeah, here we go. So, Vox had also, by the way, wrote an open letter to YouTube. Oh, God. Because, it's not enough that you've got, like, your lead journalist tweeting all of that deluge of information, that you yourself are a huge channel on the platform, that you have taken money from YouTube in the past. You have business ties. It's not enough. You then write this open letter and invoke exactly why it was a bad call from fucking... Look, this cynical timing of this, because keep in mind, this by Carlos Mazza's own admission, this has been going on for years across multiple videos. To use Pride Month to get your way, that's kind of as cynical as anything the corporations do. And you were calling those guys out, so just saying. But all right, let's invoke Pride Month to write an open letter about why you must take punitive measures against Steven Crowder. So, YouTube social media profiles have been updated with a rainbow-themed version of your logo because, again, that's like the bare minimum corporations do. Incidentally, remember how I used to tell you on this stream about how Blizzard were basically for the English broadcast? Yay, Pride! Out and proud. Here's some rainbows. Look at all our diverse LGBTQ fans of our game. And then they set up for the South Korean broadcast. Don't show any of that, whatever you do, please. The Koreans don't like the gays. We want to make money in Korea, please. And finally, I've been telling you for how long that that's the case, and finally Kotaku got the story. I'm right again about that. Like, I know everything. My finger on the fucking pulse. You will always hear about it here first. Always. Anyway, YouTube social media profiles have been updated with a rainbow-themed version of your logo to celebrate Pride Month. But to truly celebrate your LGBTQ creators and users, there's another more meaningful update you need to make. Your platform has made it easier than ever for people making abusive content to reach a massive scale. I disagree with this premise right out of the gate, because actually, abusive content can't reach huge audiences, and those that do and then stray over the line are very swiftly punished. The problem has been that you constantly expand the definition of what that is to the point where, you know, and maybe we'll have time to get into this. It's 11 here, but, you know, I might keep going. We have to like try and accept the fucking ridiculous version of reality that like Joe Rogan is radicalizing people. It's like, guys, can we all just fucking grow up for 5 minutes, you know? But as Vox video producer Carlos Matza documented in a Twitter thread, he's been the subject of repeated personal attacks by the popular YouTube commentator Steven Crowder. During a series of videos attempting to rebut Carlos's arguments, he calls Carlos the lesbian queer from Vox, along with many other homophobic and racist slurs. There wasn't a single racist slur. There wasn't a single racist slur. Calling somebody a Mexican is not and never will be a racist slur, especially if they're Mexican, which, again, I don't know if Carlos is. I don't know where he's from. I don't know if they're trying to imply it's racist because he's not a Mexican. But that wouldn't be racist. You know, if I call a German an Austrian, I'm just ill-informed, you know? If I say somebody from the Dominican Republic is a Haitian, I'm just ill-informed. It's not racism. These repeated attacks on Carlos's sexual orientation and ethnicity have led to vicious onslaughts, including doxing and dogpiling from many of Crowder's millions of fans. Again, we haven't shown you any evidence of this apart from that one doxing thing, which we know was just one guy with a fucking auto dialer. To Carlos, us, and many of your creators and users, this behavior is in clear violation of your community's guidelines. YouTube's harassment policy, yeah, we read that. To YouTube, however, Crowder's behavior, while worthy of demonetization, is not in violation of these policies, as long as the offending language is not the primary purpose of a video. If the repeated harassment in these videos doesn't cross the line by YouTube standards, then your line needs to be moved. Without a serious change to YouTube's interpretation of its standards, Crowder is free to continue to make videos where he hurls slurs at journalists and creators who will then keep getting hit with the same sort of harassment, invective, and dangerous leaking of personal information that Carlos has continued to experience from Crowder's fans. The suggestion implicit in YouTube's inaction is that this harassment is simply the cost of doing business for a gay person of color on your platform. That is unacceptable to us. It should be unacceptable to you too. Vox is proud to be among the many creators who have built big, loyal followings on YouTube. The platform is often a powerful tool to build a community, give voice to underrepresented groups, spur creativity, and circulate interesting and educational information to millions. We sure you know there's no meaningful alternative to YouTube, and leaving the platform would mean that those who are harassing creators have won. We're committed to as if there was ever a chance, by the way, that Vox or Carlos Matza or anyone was going to leave YouTube. What nonsense. And it's interesting as well that you acknowledge that it's ostensibly a monopoly, but you have no issue in wanting to dictate who can and can't use it. Saying that people should, well, you know, Mexicans a racial slur now. Ban everybody. Like, dudes, like, come on. We are strong supporters of a lively political debate, wrong, and free speech, wrong, and believe that turning a blind eye to abuse does nothing to advance either. Our efforts to protect Carlos and others from historically marginalized groups from being silenced or driven off the platform by incessant harassment are in line with these values. We appreciate YouTube's efforts to work and improve your hate speech policy and your recent commitment to seriously reviewing your harassment policy, and understand that making the internet a safer place while protecting political speech is a complicated and difficult task. But right now, those policies make everyone less safe. The dangerous backlash against creators who dare to speak out against abuse is all the more explosive when your rules are confusing and applied inconsistently and without transparency. This Pride Month, change more than your logo, clarify and enforce your harassment policy. Signed, Lauren Williams, Editor-in-Chief. So, what happens next? Well, they actually initially said that that he didn't violate, like Steven Crowder didn't violate anything, and people were up in arms about that. So they then decided to walk it back. They then actually decided, oh wait, now that you're pissed off and people are writing, you're writing open letters about it and everything, we actually have decided we're now going to punish Steven Crowder, and he is in violation of our policy. So I'll bring up the tweet where suddenly everything just changed. So here it is. So after all of this, they just decided, fuck it, we'll just walk back everything we said. So it's like, what was, like, I just don't even know, because who's this person that does those first 4 tweets? Right? Who is that? And then who is this? Because they cannot be the same person. So update on our continued review. We have suspended this channel's monetization. We came to this decision because a pattern of egregious actions has harmed the broader community and is against our YouTube partner program policies. More here. Right? So they had to go back and find a and they didn't need to do this because they already had the policies in place that he was clearly in violation of. But instead, they went back and looked at these from 2018, which was they brought in, if you're a partner, come on, XSplit. Doesn't have to be this way. Looks like it is this way. All right, don't worry, guys. I got you. I got you covered. Come on. Right, got it. So, they had to go back to February 2018 where they brought in new rules about preventing harm at the broader YouTube community, where if you were a partnered streamer, if you were like part of the YouTube partner program, there was sort of like these additional steps that they brought in, where it says we have, if you do anything that we feel is, over the line, we can remove you from being mentioned in Google Preferred. We can suspend a channel. We can stop your ability to serve ads on your channel. We'll remove you from recommended videos. We can take all of these measures against you. So they didn't have to go back and find this, but they were like racking their brains like, fuck, man. Like first of all, and again, it's just been handled so badly because the policy existed, and that's all you had to do was just uphold the policy. You tried to then make yourself out as being for free speech. There was no way that was ever going to stand. There was no way that a gay person being mocked during Pride Month was ever going to be like standing up for that. That was never going to be the right PR move. So obviously they got completely fucked over and then had to walk it back. So they then brought out a blog where they updated it and said, right, we're totally committed now to tackling hate. You guys win. Let me get this for you, because I'm just trying. Hang on, I'm just trying to see if I've got the right timeline. So anyway, yeah, they basically said that they're going to bring out this blog. Brought out this blog. We're going to tackle hate. We're seriously committed to it. Oh fuck, fucking XSplit. Fucking hate you. Hate you so much. Why do you exist? All right, okay. Here it is. Okay, I got it. Right. I have to watch everything to an archive if it's on a certain blog. So they're like, over the past few weeks, we've been going over the policies, blah, blah, blah. We're removing hateful and supremacist content now from YouTube. Bang, that's happening. I mean, that's fair enough. No one's objecting to that. We're reducing borderline content and raising up authoritative voices. So what this now means is that if we cannot find a policy which your video violates and we consider it a borderline case, fuck it, we'll just treat it as if it violated the policy anyway. Meanwhile, authoritative voices, i.e. ones that invoke the political viewpoint we ourselves prefer, we're going to give them preferential treatment on the platform. And this is very interesting. Actually, a lot of people probably they didn't pick up on this, but somebody did. I'll read you what it said here. And I wanted to do a separate video on this, and I just haven't had time. But somebody basically broke down the way the algorithm was working in outside of the US countries, and how basically, you know, PewDiePie was getting like absolutely wrecked, and they in the US in terms of like recommended videos and everything else. And basically what they have, and Joe Rogan too, and basically what they were doing was anything that's considered to be one of these like borderline cases for that radicalizes people, they were deliberately putting constraints on them in the US that they weren't outside of the US. Isn't that interesting? But anyway, so look, it says here, in January, we piloted an update of our systems in the US to limit recommendations of borderline content and harmful misinformation, such as videos promoting a phony miracle cure for a serious illness or claiming the earth is flat. Well, that's not the only videos you did it to, my friends, because you fucked over Joe Rogan, implying there's something wrong with watching his podcast. You fucked over PewDiePie with it, and this has all been proven by somebody that looked at the data set at the time you admitted introducing this. So we're looking to bring this updated system to more countries by the end of 2019. Brilliant, eh? So now there is a non-transparent, secret, secondary algorithm that is saying, hey, this content doesn't really violate any of our policies, and we have to let it exist, but we can limit how many people see it, and we will do that, and we're going to make the world a better place for doing that. So, all right, YouTube, cool. Very, very cool. Big fan of that. Thanks to this change, the number of views this type of content gets from recommendations has dropped by over 50% in the US. Why are you proud about this? Our systems are also getting smarter about what type of video should get this treatment, and we'll be able to apply it to an even more borderline videos moving forward. As we do this, we'll also start raising up more authoritative content and recommendations, building on the changes we made to news last year. For example, if a user is watching a video that comes close to violating our policies, our systems may include more videos from authoritative sources in the Watch Next panel. So in other words, let's say I'm watching a video, I don't know, about Uranium-1, right? And maybe, you know, how Clinton got into some shenanigans. What YouTube will do for me is, here's a bunch of videos saying Hillary Clinton is a goddess and didn't do anything illegal, and you should really stop watching that conspiracy theory nonsense, even though, of course, we all know she was into some shit. But, you know, thanks, YouTube. Very cool. That's totally not interfering with elections, by the way. That's totally not managing and manipulating people's access to information.
You're not even a real
put
journalism.
people through a limited political prism. That's fine. That's totally fine. Very cool. And they're openly admitting this. just there. They also say we're going to reward trusted creators and enforce monetization policies, which basically means that you know, we will pull away the monetization mechanics of the website for people like Steven Crowder. Which, by the way, as I said, I think for what he was doing, some form of punitive measure was absolutely appropriate. I wouldn't support banning him from the platform, which is what Vox were pushing for. I think demonetization definitely hurts him. I think if you've got as many subscribers as he does, that's a big chunk of change. Even if your video starts demonetized and is then monetized on appeal, you will still make a lot of money off that. And even though I would probably agree his principal revenue stream is selling t-shirts, having subscribers into the Mug Club and the other stuff, he certainly makes money off the YouTube channel. That's just how that works. So, okay, surely that's all over now. Well, no, it can't be over, because YouTube, in their infinite wisdom and desire to now basically pander and appeal to the people that have acted outraged about this, decide to basically fuck it again. It's like trying to assassinate someone with a hand grenade. What they, you're gonna kill everybody else in the room, and that's what happened here. YouTube took a flamethrower to all of the content, did it algorithmically, and loads of people got caught in the fucking crossfire because YouTube can't do anything right. And it even got to the point where Carlos Matza was like, why is this happening? So we'll get into that. I also just want to show you, when I talk about the business ties, where was it? I just want to show you that because I think that's important. Here it is. So obviously I want to always try and do what I can say. And when I talk about the business ties, here's the business ties. So YouTube invested $20 million in educational videos, giving advertisers more safe places for ads. This was in 2018, coming off the back of all of that negative press, the apocalypse, all of that stuff. YouTube invested $20 million in creators who were making educational videos on its platform. Well, what's an educational video exactly? So it says Google's YouTube is investing $20 million in getting more educational videos ranging from cooking tutorials to science explainers on its platform. So far, so good. I like education. I like people being informed. And I think YouTube is actually a great tool for educating people. It certainly has a lot more potential than it's really tapped into because, unfortunately, its egalitarian nature means there's a lot of garbage on the platform. The move will provide more brand-safe content for marketers to advertise on. YouTube videos have faced closer scrutiny since March 2017, when a Times of London report revealed advertisements from top brands were running next to neo-Nazi and jihadist content. It faced another challenge in November 2017 after ads were shown appearing next to sexualized child-related content. The company has made several moves to address the issues, including becoming more selective on which YouTube channels are eligible for monetization. This investment into educational content, which was announced on Monday, is part of the YouTube Learning Initiative introduced in July 2017, earmarks $20 million to fund the videos and expand support for these kind of video creators. So when it talks about it here, look, initial grant recipients include TED Ed and Vox. Well, Vox ain't educational at all. I just showed you that. It's actually full of shit. Why is Vox getting money? So, in 2018, YouTube gave Vox a cut of $20 million. That's Vox, who are hemorrhaging cash, that are constantly propped up by VC money. Round after round after round of funding until it goes into the ground because, it's rich fucking left-leaning billionaires wanting to keep the propaganda arm going out. So that's a problem right there, isn't it? Because, again, you've got, like, Carlos going, I'm getting fucking abused so badly on YouTube, and YouTube's terrible, and YouTube makes monsters, and blah, blah, blah. YouTube gave you millions. They gave your employers millions. They gave Vox millions. So Vox know exactly what they're doing when they do that open letter. Because meanwhile, behind the scenes, they're going, yeah, we got to fuck the Steven Crowder up, right? I mean, come on, man. Ridiculous. And again, nobody says, hang on a minute. Some sort of maybe conflict interest kind of thing going on. Ah, it's all right. Yeah, whatever. And again, just the idea that, hey, We're going to give Vox money because of our learning initiative. The only thing you will learn from a Vox video is Fox News bad, which, by the way, is a lesson that even an 8-year-old should be able to fucking grasp. Right. Now we're going to get to the we're going to get to the flamethrower approach from YouTube and how everyone else got fucked over, but I'm going to need another drink for this. So you know what that means. It's time for fucking Captain Freedom's workout. Feel the burn, guys. I'll be right back.
Are you ready for pain? Are you ready for suffering? If the answer is yes, then you're ready for Captain Freedom's workout.
Yes, it's America's own Captain Freedom.
That's the ticket. No pain, no gain.
So, when you hear the tone, control your jealousy and leave your message.
Good old Captain Freedom. Big fan of his work. Right, so let's pour a glass. And get into the fucking flamethrower approach. I also just want to go by way of Anthony Fantano. Great music reviews. Bit of an insufferable twat whenever it comes to politics. But then again, he got in an argument with another insufferable twat. So, over this. Because what Boogie decided to do, because I don't know why Boogie 2988, I've been told not to say the other number, even as a joke. Like, here's what... Okay, let me just tell you how the world works. Okay? Thing happens. Boogie comes out and says, oh, yeah, this thing has happened. But has anyone thought about this side of the thing? And says the opposite of the thing. And then people go, but that's really stupid because actually it's about this. And then they'll go, oh, yeah, right. Okay, totally. I actually support it now. Thanks. Cool. Like it. And then someone goes, no, but wait, you just said the opposite. And you've actually kind of got a point. And he goes, yes, that was the point I was trying to make all along. Yes. It is wrong, isn't it? And, we should look at both sides. And then someone else will come back to him and go, both sides is a really stupid argument right here because there is clearly only one side, really, to this discussion. Yeah, you're right, actually. And back and fucking forth. And he does it all with these, like, comedic fucking gnashes he's got now. And he's lost ways. Like, I don't know what's going on anymore. I mean, like, there was a period of time where I had, like, some fucking sympathy for this dude because I think he got fucking... he did get a lot of bullying and harassment. And I think he was a victim. And some people fucking shat on him for stances he took. And, I remember, like, Anita Sarkeesian, like, calling him, like, getting all up in his face when he was, like, in some public talk or something and threatening him and, using her significant amount of influence she had at that time. I remember being sympathetic to him about that. But fuck me. Just talk about fucking Magic the Gathering or whatever. Like, please, dude. You're not cut out for this politics stuff because... You don't have a strong enough backbone to be principled and stick to something, and you don't bother informing yourself ever on any topic, and I don't know, you just seem to do it to like get into arguments with people and then go, every time I tweet, I get so much hate. Yeah, because what you're tweeting is dumb. Fucking stop, dude. The cycle must end. So anyway, he's another cunt who's just got more and more insufferable over time, I think. Once the initial gimmick of being the fat gamer wore off, and he just had to constantly insert himself into fucking, like, more and more stuff politically, it's just like, guys, like, let's just fucking leave it there, eh? Let's just fucking leave. Like, can we just leave it now? But whatever. But I like Anthony Fantano's work with music. I think he gives reviews in a very, digestible format. Very earnest, very, very enjoyable to listen to. I like the way he talks about music. He doesn't over-intellectualize it. But when it comes to just, like, again, just expressing a political viewpoint on Twitter, he is just an insufferable, sanctimonious twat. And it was like this convergence of two just motherloads of shit, like a barge carrying landfill waste and a barge carrying untreated sewage collided and just spilled out all over my timeline. It was just ridiculous. So I just want to show you this because Anthony Fantano was inarguably wrong, just inarguably factually wrong. He had this argument because Boogie did the whole, well, they're going to be censoring the YouTube now, and I certainly hope other people don't get caught up in this. So he said, the original tweet was, my opinion, most of the people involved in this sucks. Because this is the classic Boogie viewpoint. So I ain't worried about them. I worry about the platform and people caught in the crossfire who aren't shitty people. And Anthony Fantano said, the people in the crossfire are completely made up, and you're using it as an excuse, again, to cry both sides, like your view of the situation is just the same tired-ass take you try out in every situation. Now get out of my timeline, you chiclet tooth tack. Now, Boogie's old teeth were a horror show. And maybe did look like chiclets. But he doesn't have them anymore, right? And Boogie's a bell end. And we agree about that. But there were people who got caught in the crossfire, Anthony. They weren't made up. Because YouTube was so fucking, like, boom. They were straight in there. So scattershot in their approach to censorship. Lots of honest journalists got fucking caught up. So again, Anthony Fantano will never see this, because who the fuck am I? But the reality is, like, this is just knee-jerk bullshit on his part. Let me show you some examples of totally innocent people that got caught up in the crossfire of the banned content. Ford Fisher, right? Ford Fisher is a journalist, editor-in-chief of N2S Reports, and what Ford Fisher has done is basically gone out to things like extremist rallies, protests, stuff like this, and they get footage, and then they license that footage. I have a little bit of experience in this regard myself when I covered the Birmingham riots, Birmingham race riots, just as something I did because I was interested in it and I was a freelance journalist at that time. I actually ended up selling off some of my footage because I was dressed as a fucking looter, just as a rioter in the middle of the riots with a camera. I nearly got badly beaten up. A gang of like, how should we say, youths noticed I was filming with a quite nice camera in the midst of a riot. I got live footage of a girl kicking in a Tesco's window. I got live footage of a shop on Corporation Street called Hat Man being destroyed. Because what was really interesting was during those race riots, the police basically funneled us away from the nice shops, There's this thing called the Bull Ring in Birmingham. And basically what that is like all the posh shops, all the expensive ones. It's like a mall, but it's an experience. You have a great time, and it's all for rich people, And obviously the mob that was angry and wanted to fucking, have these riots, wanted to go and fuck up the most expensive building in Birmingham city centre. But what they did was they used like kettling and I think it was called kettling techniques, I think it's called, where riot police basically push you into a more desirable location. And we got pushed into a street that was getting completely torn down and redone anyway. But the problem with that is that all of the businesses that were on that street were small owned, they were small businesses owned by regular Joes, regular civilians. And they got completely destroyed, and the police did nothing. And I've got footage uploaded of this. They literally just watched Hat Man. Hat Man, because I went and interviewed him because he had to relocate his business and wait for his insurance payment. And I went and interviewed him and just had a talk and said, I was a journalist and I covered the race riots and I watched your store get destroyed. And this was an immigrant from the Middle East. It's bonkers when you think about it, who had his store destroyed, his own homemade store that literally just sold hats. And he had it, it was his life's business since he settled in the UK. And it was destroyed by a group protesting race relations in Britain while the police watched. And there was loads of other stuff. You know, it's weird. When these things happen, there's stuff you don't think about. Like, obviously, that was at a time when I was doing lots of voluntary work with the homeless. Corporation Street had a lot of places where the homeless used to congregate and sleep, and there would be soup kitchens and, you know, groups like the Salvation Army used to do regular blanket drops and stuff down there in winter. And because of the riots and all the buildings getting fucked up and the police moved in, they all lost their, like, safe place to sleep. So the homeless people were pushed out of a safe area in other unsafe areas as a result of these fucking race riots. And again, you know, the most expensive thing that got destroyed was a Tesco Express. So I don't really see what that achieved. I think the whole article was called "Riot Without a Cause" because it was very clear to me it wasn't about race at all, and it was just a bunch of disenfranchised people coming together to just fuck shit up because why not? There wasn't a goal. And anyway, so when I was filming all of this, there was this group of youths like, "Look at that man's with a camera! Look at that man's with a camera!" And I was like, "Yeah. Fight the system." You know, fight the system, bros. Down with them. I can't wait to upload this to my anarchist blog. You filming our faces, yeah? You an undercover pig, yeah? Nah, definitely not. Never knew that. Never undercover pig.
You're not even a real journalism.
So that was bad. They all had bats and sticks. And I had to fucking disappear into the crowd pretty sharpish. Because they were like, "Get him, he's a cop! Get him!" Fucking hell, I could have been stabbed to death in the crowd and no one would have noticed. I watched the same gang of lads. I mean, they were serious. I watched the same gang of lads there was like some Asian student coming back from the university. He was on a bike, and I got this on footage. I actually gave it to the police because, again, this had nothing to do with anything. They pulled this kid off his bike and were beating him with sticks, stole his bike, and stole everything in his bag. I mean, you know, it went from being a protest to just a violent, you know, directionless nightmare very quickly. But anyway. So, listen, see, Reykjavik on Steam knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, because, shit, I forgot that part. You're right. They helped him up. After the same group were helping him up while they were robbing him. So they made it look like they were helping him up, and then they would give him a dig and take his bag. It was fucked up. It was a crazy thing. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that I got a lot of respect for journalists that do that kind of coverage. You got to be, you got to have balls of fucking steel. That once was enough for me. I said it. I never wanted to be no war correspondent. Never wanted to be on that kind of beat because that's some dangerous ass shit. And, you know, there's a few things I'll fucking die for, but writing about morons protesting the police by smashing up a fucking local hat shop isn't for me. Anyway. Oh, shit, Reykjavik's even got the video. Shall I have a look at this? I'll have a look at this. Let's have a look.
No, they're going to go in this way. They're going to ride down there. Let's work their way from
Are they actually helping him up?
Nope. I was there for this. Yeah, look, straight in his bag. So, anyway, back to YouTube. So I have a lot of respect for journalists that do this kind of coverage. Because it is dangerous. And that's what this guy Ford Fisher does. And he had his YouTube channel banned because he documents extremist behavior. And they're having a clampdown on extremist behavior to pander to Carlos Matza and Vox. So he said, "I'm furious at YouTube for what they did to me. talking about having his channel banned. Google doesn't care about pride. They don't care about their LGBT content creators. And they indeed don't care about their creators at all. This thread is going to embarrass them. Retweet it, all of it. So you're like, okay. What's Ford Fisher talking about here? Well, this is the guy's channel they fucking banned. On June 15, 2017, Google reached out to me through a third-party licensing agency. Urgent interest in a clip for Google LGBTQ campaign, they say. They want to license some footage of mine from a pro-LGBT demonstration. There is no compensation, they tell me. I called the licensor. They say Google will be using my footage in an iconic Google Pride video for 2017. Google instructed them that no sources are to be paid no matter what. Also can't promise credit. Hopefully, but up to the editor. I approved it and emailed them saying so. June 2017, the video is released. In a world where some people still try to silence LGBTQ voices, the act of being yourself is an act of bravery for all to see, YouTube says. My watermark is cropped out. I was given no credit. My YouTube channel generates money 3 ways. 1, ad revenue, but not anymore. 2, licensing with other companies. And 3, Patreon, Ford Fisher. YouTube demonetized me, and they refused to pay me for licensing. So this Pride Month, I want you to know YouTube doesn't care about Pride. They don't care about Gay Wonk. That's Carlos Matz's Twitter handle. They don't care about Steven Crowder. They don't care about us. They care about money and brand. And I don't want to embarrass them, but if it hurts, maybe they'll listen. Some people in the replies are trying to call me liberal or leftist because I'm criticizing Google censorship and talking about how I don't think YouTube actually supports LGBT creators. Others might assume I'm conservative or right-wing for it. To all these people, you are fake news. So this guy had his channel demonetized because of this. So yeah, not banned. This guy only got demonetized. There were channels that were banned and videos were removed. Let's talk about Max Blumenthal. Max Blumenthal, keep in mind, Anthony Fantano says these people don't exist. So he must be right. Super smart guy. Very, very well informed. Very cool. Max Blumenthal. This is the editor of the Grey Zone Project. He covers, again, extremist groups. And in YouTube's political purge, his video reports for the SPL Center, that's the Southern Poverty Law Center, which are a disgracefully partisan organization, who also lie and have been embroiled in a number of lawsuits, but one that somehow found itself on the, well, up until recently, because of their controversies, were on the Advisory Trust and Safety Board for Twitter. They've worked with YouTube. They were considered like the gold standard of what was hate and what isn't, when in fact, actually, they were just a bunch of fucking lying hacks. But anyway, my video report for the SPL Center exposing Holocaust revisionist David Irving as a fascist and fraud historian was removed. They took his video, just gone, purged it. This purge has already gone well beyond its stated aim. It's carpet bombing style censorship. So imagine, and here's the thing as well, by the way, when you upload something to YouTube, you must keep a copy of it because YouTube can honestly just disappear it and you can't even gain access to it. You can't even download a copy. You just lose your work. Who else? There was this other Sandy Backham, I think. Sandy Backham. After being up on my YouTube channel for over a year, suddenly my video of James Fields chanting Jews will not replace us. This was a report from the Unite the Right rally. It was disabled. The exact same angle I shot was used in his murder trial. Like Ford Fisher, maybe it's the Charlottesville one then. Sorry, my bad. Like Ford Fisher, I'm an independent video journalist. Scary times. Video just gone. Gone. A clearly anti-fascist video. A video that was used in a murder trial as evidence of fascist extremist intent. Gone. YouTube just took it down. Boom. You lose your work now. So they are silencing clearly liberal journalists. They did it again. Again, remember, none of the, to a historian, remember, none of these people exist. None of these people exist because Anthony Fantano says so. Nobody got caught in the crossfire of this. Nobody. Not at all. There are dozens of examples. And the examples have received widespread reporting, which I'll also show you. YouTube have banned me for hate speech. This was the historian who got his channel banned for hate speech because he had video clips of the Nazis for historical purposes on his channel. Imagine that. I think due to clips on Nazi policy featuring propaganda speeches by Nazi leaders, I'm devastated to have this claim leveled against me and frustrated that 15 years of materials for the history teacher community have ended so abruptly. Having looked into what might have happened, I found this blog post from YouTube published today. Reading this through, I struggle to see how that was the one I showed you, ongoing work to tackle hate. Reading this, though, I struggle to see how any of the videos on my channel fit their criteria for an outright ban. As so many people are asking, this is the banned channel. It featured 120 historical clips I collected for teachers and students, covering various aspects of world history over the past 1,000 years. The Nazi material made up around 10% of all videos. Turns out World War II was a pretty important period in world history. I mean, who knew? So, after this, they then restored the channel, but they removed some of the videos and put flags on some of the videos and demonetized those videos. And then look, they go, oh, just to update you here, your channel was mistakenly terminated based on our recent actions to tackle hate speech and was restored yesterday. We're so sorry for missing your first tweet. It was only because this blew up they actually got back and corrected it. But look, he then added, I know there are more history teachers like myself in the same situation. And I did see a few others tweeted, but, you know, it sort of belabors the point, doesn't it? And then, look, you can see here, they followed him. On Friday, you asked for details of other educated channels affected by your policy, and said you would look at them ASAP. I DM'd you some, but you still haven't read the messages. How long must these people wait? You've got Worcester Johnny, a history teacher, Miss Stacy S., a history teacher, and Walton History, which does history courses. Another day has gone by. 4 days since I started forwarding you real journalism. Team YouTube, a week ago, you DM'd me to ask for details of other educator accounts hit by your new policy to review them ASAP. I promptly sent you some. I don't even know if this ever gets resolved. I don't know if this story has an ending. Congrats on the 2 years, Guido Poop. Good to see you back. So basically, they're now just removing, you can't even, in a historical context, say Nazi or mention Nazi. And just because this guy got retweeted by a bunch of, like, heavy hitters on Twitter, he gets his channel reinstated, but the other guys can go fuck themselves. So remember, nobody got caught in a crossfire. Nobody. Didn't happen. What else? Let me show you. And this is important because what you have to realize is there is no getting away from the fact that Carlos, Matza, and Vox have to take responsibility for this. There is no getting away from that. They can pretend that it's not on them, but it is. This basically happened because you kicked up such a massive stink over Steve Crowder saying some very unpleasant and very uncharitable things about you, and now history teachers are having their channels and work removed. And that's on you. You have to own that. This is why people are sensitive about this. This is why people say censorship isn't good. I'm going to give you an example just in real time, actually. Just to show you how these people, when it's people they don't like, they cheer and they love it. And then when it affects somebody that they do like or do support or do agree with, they fucking have to walk it back and go, why is this happening? And it happens because it always happens. Right. Do we agree YouTube can only ever be policed by an algorithm? It's too big. They will always look to do things algorithmically. And then, do we also agree that an algorithm will be imperfect because it's not a human? Right. So if we agree with those things, why do we keep calling for fucking censorship and YouTube to get involved with this stuff and then expect it to be done quickly and correctly and evenly and fairly? The algorithm cares not for these things. So here was an example on Twitter. You see here, Mike Stukebury. This is the famous fat, claims to be a historian, has no qualifications in that. He just basically tweets out Wikipedia. Brilliant, great guy. Also the guy who tried to ban the word banter from school when he was a teacher, and then when he received backlash for it, had a mental breakdown, went on the sick, calls himself an author because occasionally a leftist blog chucks him a fucking lifeline, and blew up in like 2018 or 2017, I can't remember when it was, because he owned Paul Joseph Watson by making an argument saying that actually Romans were black or something. I can't even remember what it was, but it was ridiculous. Anyway, like, YouTube is about to delete thousands of accounts on the report on The Independent, and he goes, oh, this is like waiting to see who dies on Lost. He was all for it. He was all loving it, right? So, 24 hours later, oh no! You can't just use the algorithm to ban people. Look, you have banned a history channel that I like. Censorship is actually bad now. Yeah. Yeah, you fucking idiot. That's what everyone's talking about when they fucking say they don't want big tech oligarchs deciding, you know, who can see what and applying algorithms to shit, or this happens. Guess what? If you say there can be no Nazi content on your platform, which we all support, we don't like white supremacists. Even the people you call white supremacists don't like white supremacists. They do want them off the platform. No, we're all in agreement. It's just your method for doing it is you want to call Paul Joseph Watson a white supremacist. He's not. You want to call Count Dankula a white supremacist. He's not. But you would love it if they got banned off YouTube. Here's the thing. Do you know who really were Nazis? Nazis. And they were supremacists. And history channels, they include speeches by them. They include propaganda by them. Guess we got to remove it, right? Because that's the world you want, where everybody who you think is bad must be deplatformed and unpersoned. So unfortunately, this is the collateral damage for that choice, because there is never going to be a gremlin in YouTube, a guy that's just awake 24/7, like that giant fat cunt in the first Blade movie, who just monitors everywhere going, good, bad, contextually okay. No, that's not fucking how it works. It's a machine. It's a string of code. And let me tell you as well, the code that they use on YouTube to recommend stuff that you might like, fucking hell, Pornhub is better. And Pornhub keeps fucking throwing stuff to me that I don't like at all. I don't like piss, Pornhub. Stop recommending me piss. But it's still better than fucking YouTube. You have watched this video. You might like this. No, actually, I'm thinking nothing worse than watching that right now, YouTube. Fuck me, your algorithm's a nightmare. You watch one Dr. Piss video for comedy purposes. Anyway. So, what's hilarious is, because I think Vox realized, like, oh, fucking hell, this is actually bad now. Shit, this wasn't part of the deal. They had The Verge, their tech vertical, write about how bad it was that they were taking down all this stuff. And they called out even more people, you know, saying I think some of the ones we already talked about, Ford Fisher's in there, and how he had videos taken down and then got demonetized. Then there was, I mean, Jared Holt is just a seriously mentally ill man, and shouldn't and is not a journalist in any way, shape, or form. But you know, now Jared Holt's getting hit with it, and you're like his shit, and he should be deplatformed because he's just unwell and just lies all the time. But whatever, you would actually be doing him a favor. I think it might make it better. So you know, you're complaining about it, right? I get it. Yeah, we don't want it. No, like we didn't want it when Carlos Matza was calling for YouTube to slay the monsters. You know,
you're not even a real journalist.
We just wanted Steven Crowder to get a slap on the wrist, grow the fuck up, and that's it.
A late night Richie Lou stream.
YouTube's Purge of White Supremacist videos also hits anti-racism channels. LA Times. Because of course it does. Because of course it does. Because you know what? Anti-racism channels have to include, to talk about, they have to include racist content, don't they? So of course, that is just a definition, that is just reality. So they were talking again about the Southern Poverty Law Center getting wrecked. Rolling Stone covered it. Here we are. YouTube Facebook purges are more extensive than you think. And again, this talks about, you know, Ford Fisher, you know, who else? News to Share, that's the website that Ford Fisher's an editor of, which, you know, covered like the Assange protests and stuff.
You're not even a real journalism.
Talks about Max Blumenthal, who we linked to. It's just absurd. It's just absurd that you didn't foresee this. Why do you think people tell you to not, like, listen, it's not great. It's what Steven Crowder did. Not cool, not acceptable. But back channel, complain quietly. Why do we keep goading big tech into censoring voices all the time and thinking, well, it'll never come round and affect us. It'll never come round and affect our team. It'll never come around and affect somebody I agree with politically or somebody that I believe offers value in the space. It always will, because on a long enough time scale, that's all that's going to be left. It is ridiculous. I can't even believe that people get surprised by it at this point. Now, with that in mind, there was, let me find it. There was a pretty good take, I thought. Oh, just before we go into that, actually, this was the best. Vice were like, wait, you've made Steven Crowder a martyr. This shouldn't have happened. Like, again, it always happens. People sympathize. Oh, nice nice transparency, homie. Don't worry. I think we can just quickly do this. Oh no! Wait. First of all, sorry. Vice were like, wait. This just made things worse for Carlos Matza as well. Well, I mean, yeah, because here's what happened. Carlos Matza, first of all, it was him and Steven Crowder fans. Then you go out and you go public, and then anybody who's subsequently penalized are going to be upset at you. But then when they start penalizing, like, little history teachers who are like, Adolf Hitler gave the following speech on this date.
Keep on fighting the good fight, Rick.
Right? Now you're pissing off neutrals, people who would be sympathetic to your position because you have literally invoked the fucking nukes being dropped. You're the one who called for it. So obviously, yeah, people were pissed off. So it hasn't even helped Carlos Matza out. And here's something else you didn't want to happen, because there's not enough time to get into all of this, but there is a reckoning coming for big tech because they keep doing this. They keep having clear biases because of the people that work there, and they keep pushing very close to the line about where people are going to start saying, hang on, you get special protections because you're a platform, not a publisher. Everything you do makes you a publisher now. That's the only sensible discussion we need to have about big tech, by the way. Because as soon as they become a publisher and admit they're a publisher, which is what they are, and they apply editorial standards and censorship and everything every day, and we've even seen blog posts where YouTube are going, yeah, we're totally censoring people and choosing what you can and can't see. Like, obviously, yeah, we're totally doing that. You know, and we've got them lying to Congress, where representatives from Google's
real journalism
parent company, Alphabet,
That's right.
are literally lying to them and fucking lying to politicians under oath in testimony, saying, "Nah, we would never do that. Never manually censor people. Never manually censor conservative voices. Never manually alter search algorithms. All provable that they do this." And then it all comes out that yeah, we do that. So there is a reckoning coming for big tech, and stuff like this is going to be the torch paper that fucking lights it. Because look, Ted Cruz, the Zodiac killer, came out and said all of this is ridiculous. YouTube is not the Star Chamber. Stop playing God and silencing those voices you disagree with. This will not end well. And then Carlos Matz's like, see, this is how deep the rabbit hole goes. A U.S. senator is coming to the defense of someone who spent 2 years calling me a let's be quick, which... No, he isn't doing that at all. He's not defending him or what he said. He's saying that big tech platforms need to stop potentially silencing people. Now, again, Ted Cruz obviously didn't have a handle on the situation because that isn't what happened to Steven Crowder, but it has happened to other people as a result of this very public spat, right? So conservatives have spent years arguing that even basic content moderation is a form of censorship. I mean, it is a form. Moderation, curation, gatekeeping, it doesn't matter what language you want to use. If I say your words are bad because of this terms of service over here, it is still sort of a censorship issue. It's not big censorship, it's not massively important, but it is a form. If you remove something that was once there, it is a form of censorship. It just is a form. So, yeah. The goal is to scare platforms like YouTube away from enforcing their hate speech policies. Yes, and your goal is to scare them into enforcing broader and broader hate speech policies, so everybody who disagrees with you politically is tarred with that particular brush. And it's working because YouTube doesn't have the guts to protect its creators, he said, before everyone got fucked by the flamethrower. You can't give these people an inch. They won't stop crying liberal bias until they're allowed to use hate speech with impunity. And that's exactly what YouTube is allowing them to do. Well, congratulations, Carlos. Now, I can't even show footage of the Nazis with a voiceover saying Nazis bad. Good job. You've actually made it harder to discredit hate speech, discredit racist ideologies. Bra fucking vo, you absolute sensitive moron. Anyway. I think that was one of the bit. There's a couple of things I want to show you, and then we can wrap this up. So, is it this? Yes, here we go. It was Vice. It was Vice all along, guys. It was Vice all along. Like, holy shit. Like, how can you not see this coming? Because, again, this happens every time. The methods you use don't satisfy you. Definitely piss off people that consider themselves free speech absolutists, even though that isn't the topic that really needs to be talked about when this happens. YouTube's bungled crackdown on Steven Crowder only made him stronger. It's only made him stronger, guys. A week after Steven Crowder's bullying of a Vox journalist pitted conservative media against big tech, it's official. Crowder has won. And this was predicated on this comment from the YouTube CEO Susan. I always mispronounce the name. Is it Vachiki or what Wachiki or what or was Ziski? Whatever. And she had to apologize and said This is the best quote ever. If we took down that content, there would be so much other content that we would need to take down. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So what do we do? Do we take it all down? Do we? or are you saying we'll just selectively enforce the policies? Like, how can a CEO come out and say that? It's so mental to me. God, it's so insane, isn't it? That you would literally say that in an interview. Yeah, if we took down that content, we would just have to take down so much more. And it's like, yes, exactly, because what will start happening is, well, what happened? I mean, people did come out and said, hey, look, Carlos Matza is actually violating Twitter's terms of service here, because he publicly called for milkshaking people. Now, listen, sure a lot of you guys know me by now and know that I went on a few, actual, we stood up to real, actual racist skinhead groups. Specifically those that would come to Birmingham and fucking try and burn down mosques and beat up Muslims. And I was out there on the fucking front line, and I've done my bit, and let me tell you, without getting too much into it, I certainly did a lot more than milkshake those cunts. So, and don't fucking regret it at all. Fuck them. I've never, it's like I say, I've said this before. The whole punch and Nazi thing becomes ridiculous when you call everybody with a dissenting opinion a Nazi. But when you see an actual fucking guy covered in swastikas saying he's going to burn a Muslim to death on the streets, that guy probably needs a tuning. I'm just saying. And you shouldn't feel in the least bit bad about that. Whatever. Fucking ridiculous that people can't fucking see the difference. And we had that. And again, you can go and look this up. There was a time period where fucking Muslim communities in Birmingham, and I worked in one.
A real journalism.
Called Sparkbrook.
That's right.
Were there was a genuine scourge. It's why I can't forgive fucking Tommy Robinson. And no matter how much he tries to dress himself up as respectable, I know who he is and what his cronies used to come up to Birmingham and do. So fuck those guys forever. And like I say, a guy fucking on a street corner saying, let's make America great again. You can't throw a punch at him. He's not the same. He's not the same. A guy wearing a red baseball cap, you can't beat him up, can you? That's not the same. Somebody in a fucking rally saying they're going to descend on a mosque and burn it to the ground and kill everyone inside. Yeah, those guys are that's the bad guys. Donald Trump supporters are not doing that. Some of the people doing that might be Donald Trump supporters, but that is a very important distinction. Anyway, point I'm trying to make is, and if you're interested in the history of the BNP and the EDL and all these other fucked up fascist groups in Birmingham, go look it up. Because there were big time cases where synagogues and mosques were being targeted, and Muslims and Jewish people, because Birmingham's about as fucking diverse as it gets. And it's not only is it diverse, it's diverse without the knife crime. Sadiq Khan. It's not like a flaming hellscape like London is. It's actually a nice city to live in. So, what will the VOD stay up? Yeah, of course. I haven't said anything crazy, right? So anyway, listen, and look, it's probably wrong what I did. Maybe there were peaceful resolutions that weren't present to me at the time. But I've said it before. I fucking hate racists, and I hate people, and I hate bullies, and I especially hate racist bullies. Big fucking leery meatheads who want to come down and fucking pull fucking, take the veils, take headscarves off women. Yeah, I've seen some shit, man. Like, seriously. And this is how I know it's got better and not worse, like what they try and tell you. There was a very complicated time in Britain where movements and groups of people did get infiltrated and radicalized and fundamentally changed, and for a long period of time they operated with impunity on the political fringes, and for some reason we actually allowed them to stay in the shadows, and we wouldn't let the BNP, for example, talk on TV. They were banned. They had a blanket ban on television. And I always thought that was strange, because as we saw when Nick Griffin went on Question Time, if you let these morons open their mouth in a crowded room, anybody who was on the fence about whether or not they had a point will quickly realize what they are and how stupid they are and how everything they say is fucking stupid. The Nick Griffin one was amazing. Nick Griffin was the head of the BNP, and it had been complaining about how, we never get to engage with the political elite. It's political bias. Again, this actually wouldn't happen in America, but they were completely boycotted from mainstream political discourse. They couldn't run party political ads on any platform. They couldn't do interviews. They were just pushed out. So the BBC decided to go back on decades of policy and allow Nick Griffin to go on an episode of Question Time, and it was so fucking good. It was so funny, because every time Nick Griffin opened his fucking stupid mouth, the shit that came tumbling out of it, it killed the BNP. That TV appearance did. For example, the famous quote I always remember distinctly was he was asked his opinion on gay marriage and gay rights, and he said, well, look, if you were to ask me what the average person thinks, I reckon that they would find the sight of two grown men kissing really creepy. And everybody was just so buckled with laughter at how fucking stupid a thing that is to say, and how stupid an assertion. It was just like watching the fucking bully just get laughed at for pissing himself in school. So this is why, again, deplatforming doesn't really work. Deplatforming doesn't work because there'll always be a place for these fuckheads to go and talk. Sunlight's the disinfectant that kills these fucking people, because everybody can see, oh God, I don't want to be in that fucking gang. Fuck that. So anyway, just to the broader point. First of all, I think there's a world of difference between punching a actual Nazi that's saying they're going to beat up Muslims, kill brown people, whatever, and they are there with the express intent to be violent to those groups. And I think if you insert yourself into that potential altercation and you are on the side of preventing them doing that, I think that's a good and righteous thing to do. It might not be the most evolved thing to do, but I would never claim to be the most evolved being. That being said, probably, not probably, it is, you are breaking the law. So don't do that, kids. But also as well, there's a world of difference between that and throwing a milkshake at Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage is not a racist extremist. He is a rubber-faced moron. You know what I mean? He is a rubber-faced moron and hypocrite who has made a living posing as one of the working men when he's the same sort of elite twat that he actually claims to be rallying against. That's Nigel Farage. Now, when you throw a milkshake at him, it's not the worst thing. I've seen politicians get eggs thrown at them, fruit thrown at them, milkshakes thrown at them. It doesn't necessarily make your side look like the most educated and civil. I think you lose a lot of credibility when you do stuff like that. It's very childish. And also, under UK law, because of course it is, it's assault. It's assault with a fucking food stuff, assault with a malted weapon, but it's still assault. You can still be prosecuted for it, and most likely people that do it to politicians will be. So understand, all right, and again, I'm not saying Carlos Matza should be banned for this, because that's not what I like. But when he said this, milkshake them all, talking about right-wing people. Although actually that's disingenuous, because specifically the article he's linking is talking about white supremacists. So I will give him the charitable interpretation that when he says them all, he means all white supremacists, and not all right-wing people or people of dissenting opinion to leftist political rhetoric like Nigel Farage. Humiliate them at every turn, make them dread public organizing. Now, the problem you've got with this is technically calling for you to assault somebody, and that is technically a violation of Twitter's policy. Now, of course, he would never be banned, and I don't want him to be banned, because for all of Carlos Matza's petulance and childishness, he's an essential part of the political discourse landscape, but it's a violation of their policy. So the question becomes, should Twitter enforce this policy and ban him? And the answer is, if you want to start applying things to the letter of the law universally across the board to all sides without political bias, the unfortunate answer is yes. And I think that would be a great loss for the platform and a terrible direction to head in. Carlos Matza, I don't agree with him. He's not my type of political commentator. We definitely do not politically align. But he obviously gives joy to a lot of people with his content. He's probably very inspirational to a lot of gay people who want to pursue media careers. There is no net benefit that I see to shutting him up, other than I don't have to listen to it, which I don't. So, I think this, hopefully the backlash he got over this tweet would give him some pause to reflect and be like, oh yeah, occasionally we all do stray across the line. Should we be deplatformed every time we do? Or are lesser punitive measures more appropriate? So, who knows? Now, the other thing I would urge you guys to go and read, just on this topic as we wrap it up, is Michael Tracy. Now, for those who don't know Michael Tracy, he's a journalist that gets a lot of shit. And he mainly gets a lot of shit from the establishment media because he didn't get on board with the Russiagate story. And when he didn't get on board with the Russiagate story, everyone's going, oh, Michael, you're just a right-wing enabler, a right-wing mouthpiece. Now, what's super cool is I had Michael Tracy on the podcast. There's an episode with him. He actually did an interview with me. It was, I can't remember there was some predicate where basically he lost a job over publishing something negative about, I think it was Rachel Maddow. And I brought him on with the pretext of sort of saying, like, look, I think there's a very big bias problem in media. And certain people are being held up as sort of sacred cows that are completely unimpeachable, uncriticizable, unassailable. And anybody who speaks out against them or writes anything negative about them will be punished, as happened to you. And he said, I don't believe that. I think you're wrong. I think that's a very stupid take, honestly. And he took me to task over my opinion. And he was a very educational and informative guest. And I think he's a wonderful journalist. And I think he strives for the best type of journalism. And again, even though we disagreed, he is an excellent journalist and somebody that I would urge you guys to follow and sort of look at his takes. Now, unfortunately, what's happened to him is because, guess what? Because he didn't go along with Russiagate, he's been shunned by all of the traditional leftist journalists. So now he has been on the Tucker Carlson show, and everyone goes, see, we knew it all along, Michael Tracy, you are a white supremacist, and you're talking to a fellow white supremacist. He's like, no, I'm definitely not that way inclined. I don't always agree with Tucker Carlson. I've criticized Tucker Carlson many times. But I'm going to go on a national TV network to express my opinions because I think that's a good thing, right? And even if I disagree with the average Fox viewer, if I can go and educate the average Fox viewer, I've done good. But, of course, a lot of his professional colleagues don't see it that way. And he also publishes on Spectator now. So that's a right-wing kind of spiked, if you like. You know, they publish a lot of editorial and op-eds, and typically right-wing leaning. They've published some terrible stuff down the years, honestly. Some stuff that I think is shameful. But they published it. You know, Boris Johnson. I think famously the I can't remember what it was, but I think Boris Johnson did like some weird, crazy, like anti-Muslim thing. They think they published that. There was another guy whose name escapes me who would just be banging on endlessly about, you know, whatever. So he did a great article, Steven Crowder and the Folly of the Internet Playground. Sorry, it'll stop flashing once all the ads have loaded. It's like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Come on. Come on. Stop loading the ads. This isn't even an XSplit thing, I don't think. I think this is like their website thing. When you put a website with like lots of ads and like columns and stuff into XSplit, it like fucking loads each one individually and like reloads the page each time. I probably should have fucking archived this, honestly, because there are a lot of fucking ads on this. There you go. It's finished. And you can't put ad block on XSplit. And everyone who keeps saying, why don't you just use ad block, is a moron. Not you. Oh, wait, no. You're Aces Power. You're not a sub. Ergomax is fair. He's a tier 3 sub, so not a moron. Very educated guy. But you, Aces Power, you are a moron. So sub to not be a moron. Just putting that out there. Anyway, Michael Tracy said, Steven
You're not
Crowder.
even real journalism. That's right.
Excellent, Grim Reaper. Good timing. I actually thought it was Aces Power. Sorry, you'll just have to stay on morons. That's how it is. Steven Crowder is a buffoon with a YouTube channel who churns out simplistic reactionary political takes every day. This might be passably acceptable if he were funny, but he is not. He's just annoying and obnoxious. Still, annoying and obnoxious people have populated the internet since it first became available to the masses.
You're not even a real journalist.
There you go, Aces Power. Good guy.
That's right.
Bitter insults were hurled at the dawn of the online bulletin board, and yet suddenly the moralizing tattletales who comprise the contemporary digital media have decided that directing insults at public figures constitutes harassment and or abuse, and are demanding that monopolistic tech companies effectively transform into school mom disciplinarians, punishing anyone whose mean comments the journalists deem excessively hurtful. Carlos Matza is not a child on a playground. He's an adult, professionally employed by Vox, a major digital media company which presumably compensates him financially for the internet videos he creates under some sort of journalistic pretense. Matza, who chose the Twitter username @GayWonk and frequently discusses his sexual proclivities in public venues, was evidently shocked that others on the internet might be inclined to mock this. An adult who gets paid by a major media entity to espouse provocative political opinions online, such as routinely accusing others of being white supremacists, Matza was also evidently shocked that the targets of his accusations would respond with similarly combative insults. Matza might be right or wrong in his contention that various people are white supremacists, or that street violence targeting his political adversaries is justified, or that free speech is an obsolete concept. But it should go without saying that these opinions are highly incendiary and bound to provoke incendiary reactions in kind. Rather than accept this hostility as an inevitable consequence of his chosen profession, Matza has used the ensuing mean insults as a basis to demand that YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter more stringently regulate political speech on their platforms. His years of complaints culminated this week with a viral tweet denouncing the allegedly heinous depredations of Crowder, who frequently ridicules Matza on YouTube. Issuing what he described as a cry for help, Matza declared that YouTube was not doing enough to protect him. Why Matza, a 30-something adult journalist employed by a major media corporation, should require protection of this sort was never fully elaborated. And nonetheless, the outrage eventually snowballed to the point where YouTube could no longer afford to ignore it. Initially, some hapless sap manning their official Twitter account said YouTube had investigated the matter, and unfortunately for the outrage peddlers, Crowder simply hadn't violated any of their policies. Predictably, Marzer became even more furious, and a chorus of journalists chimed in with their own blithering indignation. That was the point of no return for YouTube. Nothing spooks them like the potential for a spate of negative articles in the elite press. So overnight, they changed course and proclaimed that Crowder actually had, in fact, violated policy guidelines in an egregious manner, and he was punished accordingly. The tattletale succeeded. Crowder had been sent to timeout. Perhaps by sheer coincidence, YouTube magically concocted a brand new set of policies in the span of 24 hours. Or they caved to the likes of Marzer and his squawking Twitter allies. Whatever the true explanation, YouTube's stated rationale for the anti-Crowder action was laughably unintelligible. While conceding that Crowder did not violate community guidelines, YouTube nevertheless decided to punish him in light of the widespread harm to the YouTube community. What harm? What community? What are they even talking about? Simultaneously, YouTube put out another banal blog post detailing new developments and the solemn commitment to tackle hate, whatever the hell that means. Part of their hate-tackling initiative now includes partnering closely with lawmakers to combat extremism, a concept so fluid that it defies any coherent description, as well as raising up authoritative voices, which essentially means giving precedence to established corporate media and snuffing out the little guy. Demands by journalists for YouTube to more aggressively police speech will inevitably result in independent journalists and commentators getting short shrift or even receiving outright bans on comically spurious grounds. But that's acceptable collateral damage for the journalists if they can ensure their political preferences are enacted in official tech company policy. The contemporary the contemporary online media, oblivious that their liberal cultural sensibilities are shared full bore by growing portions of corporate America, Silicon Valley in particular, constantly pretend as though they are beleaguered victims rather than culturally ascendant. The specter of Donald Trump gives them some fleeting justification for this posturing. What they fail to realize is that the presidency is not the sole focus of power in the United States. Rather, cultural power is increasingly wielded in the Bay Area by a handful of unelected tech mavens. The economic preferences of these private officials might be roughly described as libertarian, but on cultural questions they are firmly in line with the squealing journalists. That's why the companies routinely cater to journalists' obstreperous demands and capitulate whenever one of them, like Marzer, launches a protracted hissy fit. The companies, of course, seek to avoid bad publicity and are pathetically oversensitive to criticism from the elite media. A concerted pressure campaign from the New York Times and CNN can coerce them into inventing brand new policies at the drop of a hat. But on a deeper level, their cultural attitudes are fundamentally in tune with the whinging media scolds. As such, the political sensibilities of the scolds are increasingly being codified into tech giant speech regulation policies. In their hysterical offense-taking, the journalism hordes have come to resemble previous outrage profiteers, such as Christian conservative groups who crusaded against Howard Stern in the 1990s and then again in the noughties, proclaiming him too vulgar for their airwaves and calling for disciplinary authorities, then the federal government in the form of the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, to purge him from the radio. No doubt, the subjects of Stern's ire, whether celebrities or ordinary individuals whom he mocked, felt they were being harassed in a similar fashion to Marzer. Stern's regular conflict with the FCC actually made for entertaining radio. When he transitioned to satellite, free of governmental regulation, he became less interesting and less relevant. The media mobs also share much in common with concerned parent groups who fostered panic in the 90s over music CDs. Yes, we were all there, the whole typical thing, with dirty or disturbing lyrics like Eminem and Marilyn Manson. The problem with such lyrics, these phony front groups insisted, was that they created an unsafe environment for the nation's vulnerable youth. Marzer invokes the same logic today, albeit with a different political spin. At heart, the censorious pretense is the same. Silicon Valley's eagerness to appease political instigators has been on full display since 2016, as they have validated the Russia-crazy narrative propounded by media elites and elected officials seeking an excuse to absolve them of responsibility for anything that's gone wrong in America. According to this narrative, the election was fatally undermined by the malicious Russia-directed Twitter trolls and Facebook meme lords who brainwashed pliable voters into believing that it was in their self-interest to elect someone as repellent as Trump. This narrative granted a convenient out to the decrepit, debased U.S. political class. They have never fully reckoned with the enormous failures that gave rise to the 2016 election result. Facebook later revealed that ads purchased by Russia, which allegedly impinged on our sacred democracy, amounted to a grand total of approximately $100,000 over a 23-month period. A pitifully trivial sum, which nonetheless was somehow spun as evidence that the American constitutional system was teetering on the verge of collapse, rather than dispel this hyperbolic idiocy tech giants fed into this delusion. They placated the mob. And placating the mob and launching incessantly from crisis to manufactured crisis is seemingly the only PR strategy available to these companies. In the wake of the Marza Crowder nonsense, Shira Frenkel of the New York Times anonymously quoted a high-level Silicon Valley apparatchik who lamented, "I could see Mark Zuckerberg, Sundar Pichai, and Jack Dorsey tripping acid at Burning Man faster than I can see them getting into a consensus on content policy. Ingesting hallucinogenic drugs together would likely be a better use of their time, because the position they're in is manifestly untenable. Constantly caving to pressure campaigns waged by an economically reactive elite media, creating farcical ad hoc policy on the fly, and all the while seizing ever more enormous power for themselves to dictate the terms on which adults may consume political speech online. Their speech regulation policies will never be sensible and rational, because there's nothing sensible and rational about the position they're in to begin with. They simply wield too much unilateral power, and the result is never-ending, sputtering chaos. Crowder's mockery of Marza was juvenile and stupid. Marza's wildly overwrought reaction was also juvenile and stupid in its own special way. The two seem made for each other. It's a shame they can't hash out their disputes over a game of tiddlywinks on the playground. Instead, they bring forth their juvenile stupidity for all to see and create a situation whereby the YouTube teachers must stage a sort of pathetic disciplinary intervention. It's absurd and infantile, but then again, so is the present media climate. Now that is a fucking article, my friends. And if you don't know what tiddlywinks is, Hadugod, tiddlywinks, is where you get these little round counters, okay? And you have a bigger counter, like Pogs. You know, you had a big, heavy Pog, and you would hit the Pog and make the Pog flip. And you would push on the edge of the little counter, which, you know, they're like that, like, you know, checkers, but smaller. And it would jump. And you would have a cup in the middle, and you would make them jump in. There's no way anyone remembers Pogs. I remember Pogs. My little brother had Pogs. I mean, shit, I got a little brother. He's younger than me by about 8 years, and he had Pogs. Someone must remember Pogs. My audience can't be that young. I'm not a Fortnite content creator. So anyway, the point is that this situation is fucking insane. And it has realistically achieved nothing except to now just give big tech even broader brushstrokes through which to ban people to appease existing big media companies that they do business with. And in the middle of it, Carlos Matza, who was trying to be a hero for LGBTQ and people and content creators on the platform, is actually now going to be universally reviled. And it's not even him. Yes, he's the mouthpiece. But Vox are clearly interested in this. And progressives are clearly interested in this. You know, there's a huge ulterior motive going on. And I think, yeah, it's pretty pathetic, honestly, the whole thing. Me and Michael Tracy very much in the same boat on this one.